Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 287. I am Peter, and joining me is not Matt, unfortunately. The circumstances, events outside of our control have led
outside of his control too, unfortunately.
Yes, have led to him not being here this week. We tried to hold off. This is actually going to be a little bit later for patrons than it usually is, and that's purely just because we were trying to wait in the hopes that Matt could still make it. Unfortunately, he could not. We had to call it and get going, but Connor is here.
Yeah, tough shit. Deal with it.
C stands for Connor. It also stands for Consolation Prize. So...
I thought you were going to say something else entirely.
I'm not turning this show that harsh language-wise. Thank you very much.
Maybe it stands for coffee.
Definitely not. I mean, it does, but you know what I mean. It's definitely not what I was going to say.
I was going to say, maybe we need to readjust your knowledge of language.
So, yes, it's a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about comics that we read this week from DC, and coming up on this episode, we have Detective Comics 1047, the start of the 12-week weekly epic. And we also have Batman 119, Superman Son of Kal-El issue 6, Dark Knights of Steel issue 3, Justice League Incarnate issue 3, Arkham City, The Order of the World issue 4, and I've got a Patreon book to talk about, and that is Animal Man issue 15. So that is what's coming up on the show this week. So everyone be happy. And yeah, before we get any further though, I do have to remind everyone there is a link in the description for you all to go and submit your favorite DC comics of 2021. The annual fan vote as to what's going to make the sort of the fan top 10. And of course, best artist, best writer, that kind of thing. It doesn't take a long time to fill out, so click the link in the description. The deadline for that is before the next episode, which basically just means Friday. By the end of Friday, after this episode goes out, that is your deadline to get that in. So you got basically almost a full week from this episode going out to get that in if you haven't already. You can find the link in the description. You also find it on Twitter. I've posted it a few times at DC Comics Podcast, and of course the last couple of episodes as well, including the annual episode. So. Yes. We'll make sure you do that. And the results will be on next week's episode. Partly because next week's not got a lot of books, and it's a good time to talk about your picks for the best things of the year. So, yeah, that's the plan. So go do that. There you go. But have no fear. It's not a super busy week this week, but have no fear. There is still time for a ComiXology top 10. There always will be.
It's still Batman, isn't it?
We'll find out. It is not Batman, in fact, at number 1.
What X-Book was this week?
Yes. So ComiXology top 10 at a time of recording, which is still Saturday, although it's a few hours later than normal. Although I don't think they update it per the hour. I think they update it once per day.
It updates every minute. You should know this. A live feed.
I would buy that for. We could be refreshing it every hour of the show and get a new top 10 if that was the case.
Who knows? Maybe you could.
Now, number 1 is Inferno issue 4.
Which I think Inferno is the end of the Hickman stuff. Because Hickman's obviously stepping away, and it's not relaunching. It's still very much Krakoa. It's still very much this stuff, but Gillen and Ewing are kind of coming in and taking over stuff, I think. Yeah,
so the final issue of Inferno, it was only a 4-issue mini, so that's number 1 this week.
A lot.
So number 2 is indeed Batman, issue 119. I was to say Batman sells usually is around the top.
It's Batman, yeah.
Number 3 is X-Men issue 6. Not to say about that either. Number 4 is Amazing Spider-Man issue 84, and that's pretty much weekly right now. So
yeah, I think it's 3 issues a month.
Yes. They've done this before, the 3 issues a month schedule.
Yeah,
I remember this back from the pre-slot days.
Slot started.
Yeah, technically Slot was in that rotation, but it was before his run as well.
Yes.
And then number 5, we're back to DC with Superman Son of Kal-El issue 6, so that's doing quite well.
Surprised to see that selling above Tech.
Well, number 6 is Detective Comics 1047, so it's not beating it by much.
Not that I'm mad about that or anything, just surprising because usually, even Detective Comics doesn't have Batman in the name, but it still usually outsells most Superman books.
Tom Taylor, bigger than Batman. That's what
probably accurate.
That's my theory at this point. If I speak of Taylor, number 7 is Dark Knights of Steel issue 3.
Imagine the numbers if they put him on Batman itself.
Oh, number one every time with no question.
Yeah.
Number 8 is Thor, issue 20. Number 9 is Dr. Aphra, issue 17. And then number 10 is Black Widow, issue 13. So that's your top 10. So it's more Marvel and DC, but a nice chunk of DC in there. 2 Bat books and 2 Tom Taylor books. I guess it's we know what sells at DC.
It's the vast majority of what we read this week as well.
Yes. Just like Incarnate, it was only a couple of spaces down at number 12. And then a couple of spaces down from that is Suicide Squad. And then from there, you've got a mix of different things. One Star Squadron just squeaks in at the end of the first page. So that'll be number 24.
That's above Arkham City then.
Arkham City, I mean, they're both kind of similar, like small minis in that sense. And Arkham City's in issue 4, that's on issue 2. I just imagine that they decrease with each issue, so that's why.
Possible. And I think Mark Russell has a bit of a wider, he has a very dedicated fan base that probably buy everything, right?
Very possibly. Maybe Waters isn't quite there yet, but he's building. He's building. So yeah, so that's cool. Notably, because I was looking for Arkham, I've not found that yet, but World of Krypton issue 2 is on page 3, so that ain't doing so hot.
No, it is not.
And I didn't like it very much, so I'm not that upset about it, but...
I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it enough to even remember there was a second issue out this week, let alone read it.
I think that's fair. I've not seen Arkham, but I think I've just probably missed it because I'm scanning these pages quite quickly, and
I suspect it's higher than page 4 or 5 or whatever you're on now at this point.
Yeah, I'm actually at Masterworks that are not in sale anymore, but they're still clinging to the sale the list a little bit because of what they have sold in the past week.
Haven't been pushed out just yet.
Yeah, but they're all full price again, so you get a bit of a timeline by looking at these top 10s on a regular basis. So there you go. That's the ComiXology top 10. Nothing super exciting or extravagant to report, but always curious to see.
Books be selling.
Yes, books be selling as they do. There's not a lot of news this week. If it was basically, like, honestly, I will call the news item I'm about to read out as someone whipped out a thesaurus and changed a few words around, because when I heard that, the romantic, Valentine's Day 80-page anthology special its name has changed, I was expecting more than what this, because I didn't remember what it was called, because it was in this list 6 months ago, right? So the original title of this thing was Weird Love Tales. Okay, fine, whatever. They've changed it. You're like, okay, what have they changed it to? There's some bold new direction. So Weird Love Tales has changed to Strange Love Adventures. I
would say that's a better title for a DC property.
It also means the exact same thing.
It does. It's clearly an intern went, why didn't you guys call it that? And I went, shit. Yeah, it's not too late. We'll just do it anyway.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
No.
It's a thing that happened.
In terms of other news, it's not directly DC, but it does impact some DC books, potentially, in a roundabout way. The Swamp Thing Lemire book that we're getting at the minute, that will be the last Lemire book at DC for the foreseeable future, because he signed a full-on exclusive with Image, which is unusual.
Yeah, this is barely news relevant to this show, and I say that because it's not like Lemire was scheduled for an ongoing or anything after Swamp Thing that you'd be taken away from, because it's not like he was directed at DC before this book either. This was just, there's a Lemire mini again. Oh, nice.
Yeah, we had 2, right? We've got obviously the Robin and Batman, but that'll end before Swamp Thing, which is why I said the Swamp Thing one will be the last.
Yeah. Haha! Surprise! Matt's here, and we get a surprise from Matt.
We do.
Yeah. You already missed the ComiXology top 10, Matt.
Oh, you guys already started?
Yeah, we already started.
That's why you guys linked up so quick.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were gonna tell me you're getting divorced, because that's what my parents did. I'm surprised. Taking you to Chili's after seeing The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
No, we started because you hadn't responded to something. I was like, we'll just get started. And then 10 minutes into the show, you went, I'm on my way home. I was like, we'll just wait for Matt.
Oh, okay.
So here we are. It's fine.
I missed the ComiXology top 10.
Don't worry. I'll get my revenge soon.
I'm worried.
It's just going to make it extra long next week.
next week, top 50.
Oh boy.
It'll be books from 3 weeks ago that are at number like 42.
Just whatever's on sale. All those Dan Slott books.
Oh, yes.
If I hated myself, I would pull up League of Comic Geeks and play Can I Guess the Number One? But I don't hate myself that much, and we can just move on now.
All right. Yeah, and there wasn't much news either, so you really didn't miss much. You mostly just missed me complaining that it was just Connor, ironically.
That is probably true, yeah.
And then that was pretty much
and
it.
he insinuated I may be a C word.
Yeah, consolation prize, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what he allegedly settled on.
The joke made sense in the moment. Obviously, now out of context, it sounds like, yeah.
Him and Paige both.
Yeah, I do wonder sometimes who was the guy that got away, like, that she really wanted, and she had to settle on Connor. So,
Okay.
so some dude named Sven, probably.
Sven.
No,
yes.
she very much likes The Rock, so it was probably just The Rock.
That's ironic, you know why? Because The Rock has like tree trunks for arms, and Connor only has one kind of like skinny arm now.
It's perfectly acceptable arm.
It's gonna. I just like the idea that his gonna atrophy. He's gonna be like Chris Elliott in Scary Movie 2. Take my good hand.
I mean, I don't remember Scary Movie 2, Matt, and I'm actually quite happy about that.
Yeah, I also have wiped that from my memory a long time ago.
The most thing to know is that Chris Elliott he's a butler, and he has one really mangled hand, so it's a lot smaller and atrophied from an accident, I think. And there's a lot of jokes around it.
It's just by the end of this, it's just going to look like that little stump in the Expanse from this week's episode.
I look at Connor making a reference to something Matt won't get.
Yeah. How does
That's
that feel?
a TV show.
Oh dear. All right. Well, we got books to talk about. That's what's going to happen now. So, Detective Comics 1047, Mariko Tamaki writing with Ivan Reis on the art for the main story here. So, this is the first part of our 12-part weekly Detective Comics story that will run till the end of March, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting start here, I thought, because it does this thing where it's kind of jumping back and forth from like after the crisis starts and kind of some build up to it. And I imagine it's going to keep doing that for a bit. I imagine there's going to be more backstory to reveal as we go through these issues. Maybe the entire thing, but really
I do like that you have to pay attention to what day it is too, because it starts off with day 1. By the end, we're at day 27. So it's a lot of time in between.
It's day 24.
Gaps. Or is it 24? Yeah. I knew it was a variable.
Also, it starts on day 7, not 1.
Well, again, I knew it was a variable of.
That's where the 7 came from.
Yeah, that's probably 100% probably where it came from.
Yeah.
This is the first thing I read this week. Leave me alone. It's a long week.
That was the first thing I read this week, but that was yesterday.
Right, I read this on Tuesday. But yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, definitely good stuff.
Question about the cover, more towards Connor.
Let me go look at the cover. Hang on.
Does Batwoman remind you of Taylor Swift?
Batwoman?
Yeah. On the cover of Tech.
I'm looking.
She to me looked like a red-headed Taylor Swift.
That's what I'm just trying to picture the hair different. I could kind of see it. I'm trying to mentally remove the mask and like project on a little bit. I was like, where you're coming from.
Yeah, maybe it was a reference. I don't know, but the idea of Kate having the same dimensions as Taylor is something that I've never thought about before, and would actually, make quite a bit of sense.
Yeah.
So I like that was directed at Connor because I barely know what she looks like. So.
Yeah, well, he's the only other Swiftie I know that cares as much about this stuff.
Swiftie.
As my wife.
Swiftie.
Who's 100% in the cult.
For the record, I have never referred to myself as such.
I mean, you're definitely shifty.
But you are, Connor.
I mean,
You and James both.
I don't know because I don't engage with the fan base in any
Yeah.
way.
Smart.
Right.
Don't.
I enjoy the music significantly.
I'm this close from making a shirt and wearing around the house that Jake Gyllenhaal did nothing wrong, and watching her melt down.
Yeah. See,
Let's
I
make sure
don't
she's not
care
here.
about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think I could be considered.
What does
No,
Jake,
you're
just
you're
a
fine.
fan.
what does Jake Gyllenhaal have to do with it?
Oh, it's
Let's not get into this drama, please.
we're not going to get into the story. Just they used to date. She apparently wrote a song about him that when she re-released her album, it was a 10-minute drive-by, just about how much of a terrible boyfriend he was. She never mentions him, but it's said to be believed to be Gyllenhaal, which
It's
my
because of
wife is
when it originally came out, and
right.
when it happened.
Which my wife has now graffitied anything with Jake Gyllenhaal that I've had on it, which includes my Far From Home cover. It's a problem, and I need help for her. But she doesn't think it's a problem.
I did at Mask get a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal
two things.
merchandise
One,
that could be defaced.
Never, ever even talked about that. I don't care. Two, I have Spotify on shuffle right now, and my favorite song from that album just came on as we're talking by complete coincidence.
Wait, why are you listening to Spotify while we're recording?
He
Connor?
always listens to music when he's recording.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't know how you could carry a conversation.
Easily.
Some would argue he doesn't.
Oh my god, if I listened to what I like on here, it would just be constantly headbanging. It would not be good for anybody.
Yeah, no, I literally have music on every time I record anything.
Wow.
There's basically music on at all times when I'm sat at my computer.
Oh my god.
Unless I'm watching something. Like if I'm reading something, that they'll have music on for that. Recording. Literally, unless I'm watching something that has its own sound, or if I'm listening
Pete,
to.
Do you do this? Am I just weird for not doing it?
Oh no, I mean, I would maybe listen to music while I'm having a conversation, but I can't because I'm recording it. It would record the music, so I just can't.
Right.
I just never.
No, I just mean it in life. Like, always have music playing.
I mean, Matt, you say this as if like, if you're in the car,
that's different.
You have music playing and you still talk to people while you're in the car, right?
Right, but I also lose my train of thought if something part of a song comes on. It's self-discipline. That's 100% what it is. So that's so weird. I had no idea. You have Spotify playing right now.
Yeah.
Matt mid-conversation just starts going, whoa, whoa, million miles away.
Oh, well, he's pulling Lost Ring, huh?
It was the first one that came to mind. I don't know.
Gotcha. I mean, my most listened to song of last year was Cult of Personality for no reason at all. So it'd probably be that.
I thought I was going to say Crazy Frog Axel F, but
No.
I hate how many times I've heard that in the last year. So please don't.
Maybe the original Axel F, but not that one. No,
Someone put it on the playlist for work for after the place for after we shut when there's no one in and there's only like 5 of us in the building when we're allowed our own music with a name of the playlist that I cannot say on this podcast. And it has some right shit in it. Some good stuff as well, but some right shit, including Crazy Frog.
I'm gonna have to know the name of this when we're done recording.
Yeah, remind me.
Ding,
I don't want to
ding,
get you
ding,
canceled.
ding, ding.
It's not like anything offensive. It's just language-wise.
Gotcha.
I love the idea that there's a certain generation, and perhaps even geographically, I'm not sure how much of like the entire world was familiar with the Crazy Frog, like period. But I love the idea that a lot of people are going to Google Crazy Frog.
Any of our younger audience
Yes.
are like, what the hell's a Crazy Frog?
And they're going to hear it.
Everything comes in cycles, so
So it doesn't
it's
come in
bound to
cycles,
happen.
I hope. Having to pay for ringtones and people paying voluntarily to have Crazy Frog as their ringtone.
I remember those commercials where it's like text whatever to get this ringtone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Detective Comics.
Just so funny.
I was gonna say,
We
I
did
thought
start
Kate,
on it. Yeah.
Just so funny about this.
I just really thought that Kate looked like Taylor Swift. Maybe it was a reference. I'm not sure.
We started the show without Matt, and then Matt jumped on, and I love the idea that David has pointed out that Matt is the culprit for most tangents that he has to cut out.
Can't keep me on. I'm wild.
Hey, David, don't cut that one out. People deserve it.
Dear. I'll be in the full version, but he cuts out of the split up version.
People deserve it.
Oh, they deserve it. At the start of the Detective Comics review, they want 5 minutes of Taylor Swift, Crazy Frog, and whatever
That's what
else
they're here for.
happened during
We
that
just don't
portion.
know it yet because David always cuts it out.
All right, so yeah, we're introduced to Dr. Ware, who's the guy who's actually running the tower, and he's making this big song and dance. He's got a speech, and he actually brings out, here's our great success story so far, and he brings out this criminal, and I do appreciate that it made it very clear who this was, because I was never going to remember his name.
Yeah.
But this is the guy that tried to kill me on Nakano, and Nakano's with his wife in the audience being like, what the F? What's this shit?
It's Nero was at 19, right?
19.
Nero 19. And so there's a lot of reactions to this. He's making a big song and dance about results, about treatment, not punishment, all that kind of thing. And he's playing nice with Dr. Chase when they get out of the lobby, and she's like kind of there to keep him in check and all the rest of it. He's playing nice. I don't trust him for a second though. He seems
But here's the thing with him is it does feel different than anything else that we've gotten with a Doctor in Arkham, right? Like it really does feel like rehabilitation here, and it seems like he's not doing anything cagey in this moment.
It seems like that's what it wants to feel, but I've seen enough of these exact stories.
Yeah,
where I'm like,
right.
Okay,
but, basically, I feel like Deb does in the next scene, which is that the fact that he's putting on this conference and trying to show off all this good work rather than just doing it is suspicious. And then the fact that she adds on that she can't find any like records of what they're actually doing or where his like expertise comes from.
Just his medical license is non-existent.
yeah, that's a pretty important part of the puzzle.
Which made me wonder what's up with Dr. Ware. Like,
I'm going to guess a lot.
Yeah, because feel like we should know who he is, right? Like, I feel like Ware's a pseudonym.
It does feel like an alias of sorts, but I don't know if it's for someone that we know.
Yeah, right. The reason why I would doubt it, I would agree with it if it wasn't for the fact that later in the issue he dies, seemingly. So
seemingly.
And obviously we're going to see a lot of him because we're jumping back and forth in time. But if he is truly dead, and he's just here because so that he can die at the end of his story, then that's fair enough. Then he's just a new character that's going to die. But
true.
That's interesting. So yeah, Kate's still working with Deb, and they're exchanging some notes. Some press investigation mixed with some bat news, as Deb calls it. what's the bad news?
Yeah. I love the look of that scene because Reis's art. It takes me back to pre-Flashpoint. Just it's a certain vibe, and just the look of his Kate sitting across the diner from Donovan. Like I was getting the warm fuzzies.
Yeah. They're talking about some fancy new drugs that are on the market and might be coming from Arkham. And then we're introduced to one of the patients in Arkham. I don't know if this is someone that we're really supposed to know.
We met her last week. That's Anna Volgen.
Oh, sure, of course. That makes sense.
She's the one that killed the people, and then Steph.
Yeah. And she's doing arts and crafts, right? And I can see on the table, in fact, she's actually holding them at one point. She's holding a pair of scissors, and I'm like, who's giving these patients scissors? You idiots! What are you doing?
Hey, I mean, if they've earned it, right?
They're clearly, safe enough with them. You have to assume.
We literally cut to day 24 after this, where she's walking down a hallway with scissors covered in blood.
But that's day 24. This is day 7. There's weeks of time yet for her to go off the rails.
Yeah.
She's perfectly fine on day 7. there's like two plus weeks of treatment to screw up yet.
She's fine-ish, but I do that the pizza arts and crafts she's doing is from the first page. It's that tarot card-esque, the tower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she has it cut, It's very, very not suspicious. It's the word I'm looking for. Where it's like this is gonna happen. Like they're hinting at it.
Foreshadowing.
But there's another word for it. They can't. Ominous. It's very ominous.
Ominous. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I kind of like that Anna Volgen came back, actually, because I took her as just an example of like someone who's going to Arkham last issue, but if she's actually going to be like a prominent figure in the story, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we talked about Tynan introducing a bunch of new characters during his Bat run, and it sort of feels like Tamaki is being able to do the same thing. That between Vile and then Nero 19 and now Anna Volgen, it seems like Tamaki's created a whole roster. And we know at least Anna Volgen and Nero 19 from the last part of this. That they're going to be pretty important to the story. You
Yeah, and there's a nice thing here because the conversation, even though we switched to Anna Volshin in the tower, it continues the conversation of Kate and Deb. And Deb's basically saying there's no such thing as miracles, especially in Arkham, and there's a difference between people who are ill or sick and people who are evil, and you can't really stop evil. And it's when you transition to the next page, it cuts to day 24 and points out that and Gotham has paid the price for thinking you can many times before. And we get this 2-page spread of like all the police at the bottom of the tower. There's helicopters shining lights in the tower. It basically is like, oh shit, we've got like a Die Hard situation going on here.
It went from Arkham Tower to Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah. So, and I love the bathed red light. You get the idea the emergency lights are on inside the tower. You see Anna Volshin stabbing someone with scissors. And as this is all happening, you hear like Oracle just chattering. So we jump into the middle of the story, and it's like, Nightwing, are you there? Stephanie, are you there? Like, these are the people they expect to be inside somewhere at this moment.
Yeah. It took me a second on that page with all the red, like the first one, to realize that was Kate on that third panel. Outside.
Oh, on the outside, yeah sure.
Yeah, because I can see it now. I'm looking for it, but I couldn't at first glance. I didn't see the grappling hook. I just saw what seemed to be a blue outfit and a red cape and red boots. I was like,
Superman?
why is there a super character flying?
Yeah,
like, what's going on? And it took me a second to go, that's Batwoman from behind. It's just
it's lightning strike. It's like lighting her up a little bit blue. Is the idea?
Yeah, it's just the way, and it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's actually it makes perfect sense. Once I realized, it just took me a few seconds to kind of figure out what was actually happening in that panel. Honestly,
it's a really nice bit of sequencing to have this kind of like her on her way to the tower, and you just see it in the distance with the lightning and the fog, and it sets this mood and atmosphere on the way. We cut to Nakano, who's freaking out at City Hall that this is all happening.
It's pretty much all he ever does.
I mean, that's true.
Well, that's what happens when you sign up to be the mayor of Gotham City.
Yeah. So they got a negotiator who's not doing very well, obviously, as you expect. I mean, no, probably not. But so Kate's talking to Oracle. We see Anna Volshin just walking down the hall, proper like. And it's funny that I'm saying this because the backup does have some major Shining references, but this is very much like a Shining-esque moment of her just walking down this hall. So really nice stuff. But yeah, so yeah, you've got like Batwoman on the outside sort of liaising with the cops a little bit, and that's when the body comes flying out one of the high up windows, and they say it's Dr. Ware, who's presumably been thrown out to his death.
Missing a finger.
A ring finger, it looks like.
Yeah, I wonder if there doesn't seem to be a ring on the finger when we see it, but I wonder if maybe they've already taken it off and we're just not being shown that.
Yeah, I mean, she's
And I don't mean in the sense of like, it's a wedding ring or anything symbolic like that, but more some sort of signet ring to open,
doors.
It could be. I mean, it is important
that said, though,
missing the ring finger.
Is that the finger you typically use if you've got like a finger scanner?
I mean, no, because usually finger scanners just see your pointer, and the ones I've used,
They are, or your thumb. But I mean, there's still a actual like a ring, but like with a mechanism that the ring in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here.
Yeah,
but I do think
being sinister and weird.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's definitely.
I'll say at my old job, we clocked in and out with like a fingerprint like scanner.
Oh yeah.
And you could set it up to do anything you wanted. Like as they're setting it up, they're like, just pick whatever finger you want to clock in and out with every day. So
yeah,
you could do it with that finger if you really wanted to. If you wanted to be awkward.
What finger did you use?
Just my thumb.
All right.
Your thumb, and then you do a second finger as a backup in case, like you injure one of your fingers or something. So
I'm trying to remember what
thumb and index.
What trip it was at Disney World where they were trying to keep people from reselling their tickets for the days that they didn't use by connecting them to a fingerprint scan. So when you would scan your ticket, you'd also have to put your fingerprint in, so they would match. But you got to remember which finger it was. So most people went thumb.
I think now as well with phones, especially now, it was a little bit different, I guess, when you had fingerprint scanners on the back of your phone as well. But now that they're all pretty much just built into the screen, pretty much everyone's used to just using the thumb, right? So I would assume if one was to set up using a fingerprint system, most people now would probably lean towards their thumbs just automatically because of that already.
But yeah, there's got to be a reason why they took his finger off like that. Like, you know, wasn't the pointer? It's the ring.
I could buy that she's just snapped his finger off before she threw him out the window as a
maybe
as a little
she's there like wiggling the finger and you know having the scissors and being all sinister. It could just be a case of she's being, you know, terrifying.
Yeah, I could see that. Kate is met up with Cass, who are on a nearby rooftop, and Cass is being all ominous about like, I mean, we can't just because she says, do we scale the tower? Because we're bad characters. Let's get scaling. And she's like, no, we don't know if there's hostages, if they are, where they are. And Cass is like, or if they're still alive. And I'm like, yeah, I mean that's true, but also very dark.
Yeah. I do like that as Cass is like, she's not good at communicating, you know.
Yeah, very
she didn't
blunt.
mean it to come off that way. Yeah.
But it still came off that way anyway.
Yeah. And that's when Nightwing finally kind of like chimes in over the comms. And it turns out that Steph and Huntress are also both in the building somewhere. He's not seen them. It seems like a lot of chaos has just went down. I love the sequencing here as he's talking. Like, so we see him in the comms. He's clearly not an outfit. He's in like, whatever undercover outfit he was wearing. And the panels, we get these panels just sort of looking down the hall at the elevator as the doors are opening, and we're getting closer to it. It's like, this is like a horror version of Die Hard. Is basically what I described this as so far. Yeah. Super effective, really cool stuff. And then that's actually the last page of the main story is we see a woman of some kind bleeding on top of the elevator inside the shaft.
Profusely.
The implication from the dialogue being that it's Huntress.
Yeah, I would say that too. I would say that the lighting and the colouring makes her hair not look like dark like Huntress's hair.
Well, what I'm going to suggest, because she looks like she's wearing inpatient gear, like like she's a patient there. She may be also undercover, Dick there as a worker and her there as a patient. So maybe they've dyed her hair as well to disguise her a bit.
Yeah, I suppose to give. I mean, this could be either Huntress or Steph, really. But I will say the idea that the colouring changes the blood to purple as it goes down to the bottom of the page would also maybe be a hint that it's one of them. Just as a nice little touch.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah, the length of the hair looks like it could be Huntress.
I mean, if it's a wig, it doesn't really matter with the length, I suppose.
It's not. I'm assuming it's not a wig because I'm assuming that would be found out pretty quickly in this sort of facility.
True.
But I mean, who knows? We'll find out next week.
Yeah.
So we have Dick, Helena, and Steph inside.
Yeah.
And then we got Babs, Kate, Cass, and then any other Robins.
I don't know if they're going to be.
I think Tim's showing up at some point.
Yeah, but they're not featured as of yet. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, this issue more than anything else is a bit of mood, and it sets the stage for like what the predicament is. But we're still a little bit unclear exactly what they've done, other than just that they've taken control of the tower and they've got hostages. So I mean, that's something I'm presumably we're going to play out and see snippets of.
And why?
And I think it's interesting we do start in day 7 because it means that we can go further back to something important that maybe like plants a seed for the story when it's relevant.
Necessary, yeah.
So there's room there for all that stuff. Yeah, I had a blast with this, pretty much.
It was a lot of fun.
All the real complaint is that I kind of want more of it, and I guess it's good that it's weekly because I'll get it
next week.
I think it's paced knowing that it's weekly.
Yeah.
If this was a monthly thing, I'd be not that I'd be knocking points off it, but I would say it would be paced, not amazingly for a monthly comic, but knowing that there's an issue next week, I think it's paced more appropriately for that.
Yeah. So I'm excited for next week. And like I said last time, I'm just glad that all these characters are getting to star together in an ensemble. It's just a nice touch.
I do like the idea of Detective being the ensemble Bat book. It's a nice feeling. Takes me back to early Rebirth.
It's interesting as well because I think this is kind of the first story that we've got that's kind of the post-Tynan stuff. Tynan posted his final Bat newsletter this past week, and it was clear from that just how much he was driving the entire Bat line, like Detective as well. All the stuff with Bruce in the city, all those scenes that we had of Bruce just like in the apartment and meeting Deb and those ideas of him kind of having neighbors and being a schlub.
Yeah.
That was all stuff that Tynan wanted to write but couldn't fit it into his Bat book. So it was like, that'll go over to Detective.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be interesting to see now, okay, what do they do from here, now that someone else is calling the shots? So, probably will go in a fairly different direction.
Yeah, no, curious to see. So the backup's there as well, and what's funny, actually, I realized as I was putting out last week's episode that we didn't actually talk about the backup in the last issue, and I read it.
We didn't.
Yeah, and I read it. It just slipped my mind, and we just kind of moved on.
Gotcha.
But there wasn't.
Because usually for me, that's code that you didn't read it, and we're just moving on. So that's why
I did read it. I just forgot about it. And it was just the last part of the teasing of the tower, and the guy wanting to take it down.
The guy wanted to take it down, and Harley trying to be like a judge in that.
There wasn't, honestly, there wasn't much to it. I didn't really feel bad that we didn't talk about it, because it was basically just the tower's here. Batman's got out of his little psychedelic funk, and here we are. There wasn't much more to it than that. But this backup here is interesting because we have a very cool creative team on this.
Okay.
We got Blanco on the art.
I believe this is the creative team for all of the backups as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 12-part backup, basically.
Yeah.
So you got Blanco on the art, and you got Rosenberg writing the story here. And it's going to be Arkham related, although we don't really see till the very end of it how it's tying into Arkham necessarily. It's just a story of this kid, a ginger, no less.
Possibly Nero 19.
Oh yeah, that would be.
That was my thoughts. It never obviously names it, but I thought maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, this dad comes home and he's like freaking out. We need to turn off the lights. We need to, pack a bag, leave as soon as possible. And the wife's like, "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding." But of course, the person that he's pissed off is the Joker.
Yes. Never a good sign.
Yeah, who comes knocking? And they hide the kid in the closet. But honestly, some of my favorite stuff of this stuff is the Joker murders the parents and the kid's hiding in the closet, and the Joker's getting an axe. There's a lot of Shining references. He's outright quoting it as he's like busting down the door. But my favorite part of all this is that when he sees the dinosaur toy after he's murdered the parents, is just when he's walking around, he goes, I never took him for a dinosaur man. Unless there's someone else. Like, I just has like talking to himself as he's sort of like. He knows there's someone else there, but he's kind of like going through this motion of pretending to like he's figuring it out for the sake of the kid hearing him. I enjoyed that part. I thought that was really well written.
And then Batman shows up just in time.
Yeah.
Well, also, the
for the kid, not obviously for the parents.
Yeah.
Well, the kid hiding in the closet with a gun, ready to take Joker out.
Well, what's cool about it, though, is that he doesn't go out. Like, he finds the gun in there because there's a moment beforehand where the dad's looking for his gun and he can't find it, and then the kid just sort of stumbles on it when he's in there. Honestly, that art is maybe some of the best stuff in the backup. Is like the kid just like holding up the gun when he's inside the closet, and you can see all the lines of light.
I think obviously Blanco is great, and we spent a long time praising Blanco on every issue of Catwoman they did over the past couple of years. But I think what sells this backup for me is Bel-Air's colors. The really flat colors just make it feel very different to kind of everything else that we've had recently.
Well, there's that. And then the very first panel where everything feels like, until the dad comes in, it seems very dreamlike.
Yeah,
like,
it's storybook.
It's another time.
Kind of.
Right. And then he comes in and now it's the real world. And it's just the subtle difference of the inks and the color.
Yeah, it completely shifts. So obviously Batman has no trouble like disarming the kid because he's Batman. But the rest of the story is basically that no one has like a solution for where this kid should go. Like social services are like closed down for the night. Like Gordon's asking what he should do with them, so he ends up putting them with 2 uniforms, and like it's just a series of panels of like different people, like basically like just passing them on to the next person, and not even out of cruelty. It's more just Gordon's got like Joker to go hunt. Like he's got stuff to do.
Yeah.
And the end of the story is that they're actually putting them in Arkham for the time being. Like which is just messed up. Like,
Yeah.
you're treating that as your like go-to orphanage, given who's there. So it's a bad sign.
There's no way this kid grows up to be healthy after that.
No.
The panel where there's no one to go, the second panel with the ambulance, is that Christmas Allen?
I believe it is. That's what I thought it looked like anyway.
I thought so too.
So that's where we want to look about when the time frame is. That's, in Batman time, it's a little bit far back.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, in real time, it's probably like 20 years, but in Batman time,
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
like I also kind of
15.
feel if you look at the Joker, he seems, early kind of Joker. Like with the the tie.
It's why I thought this kid could be Nero.
Right. But yeah, I saw him standing there, and I was like, oh, it's got to be Christmas Allen from Gotham Central.
If it isn't Nero, then I suspect it is someone else that we're going to be introduced to.
Yeah.
In the main story as an adult. That'd be my guess. But yeah, so it's nice that the backup, it's got a good creative team, but it's going to complement the main story in some way, because it is going to delve into some Arkham stuff. So.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it's Dr. Ware, who knows? Maybe
that was my thought too, but I feel like I don't know.
He seems older. I admit he seems like he's in his 40s or whatever, so he seems a bit older, but
yeah. I don't buy him being a kid when Batman's running around.
But I mean, I don't know. Maybe staying in Arkham while you were a kid ages you quickly.
Yeah, like
you grow up fast.
Add some
you don't grow up at all.
Yeah, it's like growing up with Monica. You don't eat fast. You don't eat at all.
Yeah.
I feel sick. I just made a Friends reference. I'm not happy with myself.
You did, but it's a good Friends reference.
You are not the person I expected Friends references from.
Me neither.
That one just popped in my head because of what you said. It came flashing back. It used to be on TV the same time every day after school. Okay, a lot of it's ingrained in my brain.
It was on a lot, wasn't it?
No, it still is though. Like, you can't flip through stuff at night before bed without coming across it on the channel here. Like, it's on 4 different ones. It's crazy.
So we'll rate both the main story and the backup. Like, they both deserve separate ratings.
Okay.
Matt, what are you giving them?
So I'm giving the main an 8.5, and I'm also giving the backup an 8.5.
Sounds like you had a good time reading the comic.
Yeah.
Connor?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with the same.
Yeah, I can't really fault. I might slip the backup down to an 8, but that's like a minor nudge. And maybe it's just because, as much as I enjoyed some of the Joker stuff, when I saw it was the Joker that was coming, I was like, oh, another Joker story. There was like a slight amount of, another one, okay. But I mean,
but how much trauma in Gotham is Joker responsible for?
Oh, for sure. Especially since it doesn't necessarily feel like the rest of the story might be that focused on Joker. It might just be.
No.
I don't think it will be at all, to be honest. I think he's just there he's the inciting incident.
Yeah, yeah, that makes some sense. So no, so this 12-week epic is off to a delightful start. So we'll be back next week with part 2. Batman 119, Joshua Williamson, and several writers.
Several artists.
Several artists is what I meant. I love that Wallace he's too lazy to write now. He's just got a team of writers to. It's like, here's the general idea. You 3 make it work.
That's called Amazing Spider-Man, I think, right now.
Oh, that feels harsh. I mean, they are pumping out like 3 or 4 books a month, so I mean, it's not like it's someone being lazy. So the end of the last issue was that Lex Luthor is now funding Batman Inc. and he reveals himself as such. I mean, that sums it up. He's such a prick.
The return of prick Lex. I mean, I always prefer that to evil scheme that we've gotten the last 2 or 3 years. The whole Justice League and
this is just
Legion.
selfish Lex.
Yeah, this is my favorite kind of Lex. So to see this one where he gets to the point where he talks about how expensive this wine is, but you're not paying for the wine, you're paying for the story. So then he dumps the wine out, and you're like, oh, you dickhead. Which perfect tone setting from Williamson here.
Yeah, and even Bruce is not that materialistic. Is like, really?
No.
Really? Can you just pour that out?
Have some respect.
At least drink it.
Yeah. So, really nice. So yeah, I mean, to start out with Lex and Batman, there was a quick flashback page with Alfred talking about how Yeah, this whole super steward and cowardly thing for the criminals will work to a point, but there's going to be other types of criminals, and that sets up the idea that you've got this Lex who's out in the open, he's smarmy, he's confident, you know.
The kind that Bruce, at that time wasn't thinking about, the ones that don't have to hide, they can just be in the light. And I was like, oh my God, that's so perfect.
Did we ever have President Lex in this continuity?
I don't think so. I think that was.
I don't think so
lost.
because, I feel like he would want to be addressed as Mr. President.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't think it happened, and it's one of those stories that I don't think. Obviously, we spent a lot of time over continuity in the last decade, kind of redoing major beats. Just anyway, I don't think they'll get away with doing that one again now because it will feel too on the nose, right?
Compared to who we've had, I would vote for Lex over that other person anytime, because at least Lex is good at what he does. All right, he's evil, but he's good at it. So,
And then there's a weird angle with Lex being president where it's kind of what he wants, and not in an evil way, but more just he wants the power, he wants the control.
Right.
And that kind of just is a way for him to get that.
And really, from what I remember too, how they dealt with it too was it wasn't until Batman Superman that Loeb wrote to set up the things that were in kind of seed the Infinite Crisis that Lex was kind of just treated as the president. Like you didn't have to like him, but he was doing the job. Like he wasn't doing anything any more nefarious than other presidents have done.
Yes.
And that was kind of refreshing from what I remember. It's been 20 years, right? Like,
doesn't been that long.
It was 2000.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Lex as president was in 2000 because they made a whole big deal about it.
I thought it was closer to pre-Flashpoint, or obviously still pre-Flashpoint. But I mean, I thought it was closer to the end of that decade. But fair enough.
You guys talk about this, I'll look.
So
I also thought it was later, but
Yeah. So Lex, I mean, he does this knowing Batman's going to get away. He's not really trying to capture Batman, but it's like the law in the country right now is that any Batman should be captured or shot on sight. So he's let the police in, and they take shots at Batman, and Batman leaves a note for the detective Lady Kea, that he'll see her soon, and he's like, well, that's not creepy at all. But it cuts to the rooftop of wherever Lex is staying. He probably owns the building, let's be honest, in Badnesia, and Bruce is there, and of course, they couldn't talk as openly in front of Kea. Lex, for all the shitheadiness he isn't going to just out who Batman is in front of the public,
everyone.
He at least keeps that to himself. And I mean, we could argue a lot of motives for why he does that beyond just doing it out of the kindness of his heart. I think my favorite part of this scene, though, and you might already mentioned the pouring of the $20 million bottle of wine, is the fact that Bruce is completely calm until Lex dares to call Dick soft, and we turn the page and he leaps up and he's about to punch the shit out of Lex. But he lets him go. And it's like, I'm taking the body of Abyss, who of course was the one that it seems to have been murdered by a lot of the Batman, to a lab that Lex owns, and you can examine him there. And of course, Batman's out the scene, and of course he knows not to. He's like, I'm not going to trust Lex. I'm going to go and try and get to the body before it gets to the Lex lab, because I don't trust what he's going to do. Maybe he'll switch the body, maybe he'll contaminate it first. He can't just trust Lex. So then we get what I'm going to call a really, really chunky looking Batman in outfit standing on the next page. Anyone else have this problem?
He's a little bit bulky.
He is. I think as well, because obviously the section we just came off with Bruce and Lex, that was clearly the Janet section. And
not as bad as the Kubert stuff in Taylor's Batman Detective or The Detective. But it's up there with those proportions.
Do you know what I think it is? It's things like you can feel the fabric, you can see the creases in the fabric of just it stretching, as opposed to being any sort of thicker material.
Yeah, but he does look wide though. His body looks wide.
He does. I think it's partially the stance as well that we're kind of seeing a weird angle.
Yeah, he looks kind of stumpy, I guess, compared to normal. He looks short and wide as opposed to whatever Batman's.
It's just in this one panel as well.
Yeah, it's just this one panel. And well, that's the thing. I think all my favorite art in the book comes in the last chunk, which we're about to get to, and we're not quite there yet. But basically, Batman calls Detective Lady Kea and says, "Hey, you're going to have to distract the other police officers for a minute while I get a look at this body before it goes to Lex." And she kind of reluctantly goes along with it, and the body kind of Batman's out the scene because Batman does his thing. It's a fun little sequence, and he inspects the body and he's like, "Look, this isn't Abyss. Something weird's going on here because this body isn't like, this is not someone who's been dead for 2 days. That's just not what this is." And there's something in his mouth. The lights go out and then things go dark, and we kind of get our first proper time. And it's when the lights go out. See that page where he's like going through his different vision options, and he's like infrared, night vision. This page onwards, I think the art is like it's just stupendous.
I do as well, yeah.
Yeah, he tries a flashbang to see if he can see anything, and we just have this really dark, grainy.
It's that grainy effect to it. It reminds me a lot of Bermeo stuff.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say
it's great.
It's a bit like Bermeo, but I'd say that like the actual like character work is a little bit different.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, and then so there's Batman looks basically in the darkness trying to look for this Abyss, and he's saying, "Who are you? Why did you fake your death? So on, so on." And Abyss like jumps out from behind him. That page is gorgeous. And the whole thing is like just it's him, they're fighting in the darkness. It's not exactly the same thing, but he says he's a creature of darkness. It was giving me flashbacks of Dark Knight Rises when Bane's like, the shadows will betray you because they belong to me. It was just kind of that vibe a little bit.
If Batman just gave him a chair, that would have been
it. Yeah. But it reminded me a little bit of Reaper from Year 2 a touch as well, because he's got like a sickle that he kind of has.
There's that.
Like
my only issue
Yeah.
with the design is I'm not a fan of the X eyes because it reminds me of those stupid Purge masks that have been on sale every year for Halloween since that movie came out. And like,
I don't like the X, but I like the way that they have like that blue glow to them.
Yeah, I like that. I just don't like the X because all I can see is a Purge mask, and to me that makes me cringe and not like, oh, this guy is legit. But it does set him apart because I feel like if it was a skull mask, now it looks like Phantasm, right? So there's a fine line, and I don't know what to do different. I just maybe wouldn't make them X's. You make it a visor or something.
Love hearts.
That'd be terrifying.
No, I mean, I really like this scene. I think it really sells him as a really ominous threat. Like you said, the glow off the eyes and the general just kind of way that handles the lighting in these pages is great. And then the final page, final couple of pages, which is Detective Kea comes in. Batman's down in the ground. He's bleeding. He's hurt. Even this art here, as he's like crouched down, I think some of the best looking stuff as well. It's not as good as the darkness pages, but it does look really good. And then the final cliffhanger here, because she's saying, "Oh, we'll put the building in lockdown. We need to catch who did this." And the final page is that Batman, his eyes are all black. He cannot see. He says it's too dark. So I love this idea. It's because I don't know. Obviously, he is blind, but I don't know if it's specifically that he's made him blind, and it's more the idea that Abyss's powers like. Oh, he's looked into the abyss and now he's stuck in the abyss, like visually, until, either it wears off, maybe that he has to cure it with something. Who knows at this point, but I like that play on like this character's like powers, or maybe it's just something he's poisoned him with on his blade. Like, he just stabbed him with something.
It's possible.
He's blind as a bat.
I'm inclined to think it was before the stabbing on the blade because of that would explain the effect in general that
Yeah. So do you think it's almost like like Shadow from JSA, who's like turned like the entire room dark with power?
Kind of, but more target. I think it is. I think it did affect him. I don't know if it was like I don't know if it was like a poison, more of like a mental like block, essentially, like it's blocking.
Well,
out
this seems biological because it went from that dead body to him, and then that's where none of the. Yeah. That's why the infrared couldn't, because it's not his
I think
gear.
It's the start of that sequence where this happened.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that he does get stabbed with something, I would even speculate that no one was ever physically there to fight him. But he does get slashed with a weapon, so I maybe rule that out. But it's that sort of thing where it does feel like he gets something from this dead body that triggers something, and then maybe this like alerts Abyss to come and. I mean, it must be nearby. It's not like he can't be traveling that far away, but maybe that's what kind of triggers Abyss's appearance, and then yada yada yada. Like, but the whole sequence is great though. It really feels like the first time that Arnold has to fight out the Predator or something like that, where it's like, oh shit, like this is like a big deal. This villain is not to be trifled with.
Yeah.
So
no, it's very interesting stuff that was set up here.
Well, because if you look, his eyes are dark after the flashbang in almost every panel except for where he says cut the posturing, where they very much look like, they got
the lenses in.
Yeah, but if you look there, they do a very good job at shielding his eyes the rest of the time, except for when he gets stabbed.
The only time I see anything in his eyes other than black, really, he gets stabbed, and also the moment where he's holding the batarangs in his hand.
Yeah,
it looks like you can see there, but you could sort of take this as a representation of him just being blind the entire fight. Yeah, and then it's at the end of the scene where she's in there and the lights are on, and you realize, oh no, wait, it's not the room that's dark. It's that he can't see anything.
That was my assumption when I got to the end of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a really great sequence. So. Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying Detective Mord conceptually, but I can't deny that this was a fun issue with some really good art. Obviously, the art does jump around because there's like 3 or 4 artists, so there's that problem to deal with.
That last chunk, and then the stuff with Lex, I thought were really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Lex stuff, that's Yannin, pretty confident on that. That's always great, and I really like how he draws his Bruce. It's really like just. Still, in the range of like he's a normal guy, but like casual, and he's obviously quite buff, but still like in the limits of feasibility for hey, this is just a rich guy. Yeah, looks great, but then this last section just is so unique that it's much more interesting, I think.
Yeah, no, it set the villain apart. It was because it's always really hard to introduce a new villain, and sometimes it's just like, oh, it's a new type of outfit. They've got some beef with Batman from his past or whatever. This was like, no, this is how the fights themselves are going to function differently. And you can say, yeah, is it that different from being like dosed with Scarecrow poison in some ways or whatever?
No.
And it's not really, but like it's got its own spin on it, and it made it fun to read. So
yeah.
Now he's like Daredevil. Without the sonar, which
I think it's interesting because he mentions obviously during the fight or at the start he can still see himself.
Right.
I don't know if by the end it's gotten worse that he can't even see that anymore, or if it's just a case of.
What if it has to do with the light and that it's double that Abyss can do a thing where he traps light, right? And so Bruce can see in the dark.
I think that's kind of what gave me the vibe that it's less blindness, is this idea that he can still see himself, so it's like he's in a black void.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is stuff around him. He just can't see anything else, but he can still see his own hands and stuff.
Once Abyss was gone, that effect stayed, and it's bright, right? Almost think like Obsidian when he brings the darkness around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something like when we get to the end and he's saying, oh, it's too dark. Has it gotten worse for him? Can he no longer see himself at this point? Or is it more a case of he's just it's too dark, he can't see anything else? He'll struggle to do anything meaningful.
Yeah, I guess the best way to compare it to is like walking through a thick fog. It's just in this case the fog is blackness instead of, but it's only for him. No one else can see the blackness.
Right.
So, it's a fun beat. Did anyone read the backup?
I did not.
No, I didn't either. Didn't look like it was for me at a glance, so I just didn't bother.
I read the first page and was like, I'm good.
Yeah. All right, Matt, what are you rating Batman?
I'm going to give it 7.5.
Car?
I think I'll give it an 8.
I'll give it an 8 as well. It might even been bumped up to a 0.5 if it wasn't for the art being inconsistent and that chunky looking Batman on that one page really distracted me. So, there you go. Batman 119. Superman, Son of Kal-El, issue 6, Tom Taylor with John Timms on art. And what's so funny is I kept forgetting that the annual was an annual. Like, because I was like, didn't that just happen? I'm like, oh, technically it was an annual, so it could have slotted in anywhere. So it's not necessarily a right now thing. Because I kept waiting for Lex to be referenced again in this. And he never was.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
No, we get a different, it's kind of, but not really.
We get Bendix. We get Lex 2.0 or whatever. you want to call him. So yeah, we do a little thing at the start here in Bloodhaven, which I have to admit is going to play in a little bit to the crossover that's coming up between Nightwing and Superman. That would make sense. But it's basically this superpowered agent who is kidnapping homeless young people for experiments back in Gamora.
Do we think Heartless has something to do with this, or do you think that's
unrelated?
Heartless is running concurrent to the people, kidnapping these ones.
I don't think it's related.
Okay, because it's a similar MO, except he's stealing hearts, and not in the HBK way, actually, in the Mola Ram way.
Yeah.
But
No, I think this is specific to this plot, but I'm sure it's going to come up in Nightwing, and that's why we'll have the crossover. It may not even come up until the issue that's actually the crossover. I don't know if it's
just a case of that's why John goes to Bloodhaven.
Yeah,
because hey, this is coming out of this city, so I'm going to go investigate it. And Nightwing's like, well, I'll help.
Yeah, exactly.
So and here's the other thing. Do we think this is related to the Freedom Fighters, the team from the Suicide Squad? Like we have Wink and Airy. We both know they got their powers.
Everyone's just shutting down Matt today.
And again, I think this one's more likely, but I still think no.
Okay. Because we do know, because Jay is friendly with them.
Right. I think the reason I'm hoping not, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm all for, hey, let's have these characters around and interconnectivity and whatever, but Jay's origin that we'll learn this with, a presidential parent, is eerily similar to...
And that's why I feel like they're a little bit tied.
Oh, to me, it was already I don't think I like this. It's it's a little bit too...
honestly, I
kind of just did this.
I'll interject here. I have two nitpicks about this issue, and that's one of them, is that I don't like that his mother turns out to be this important person. The fact that the ex-president that Bendix took the position from is his parent made me roll my eyes a bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That's that in general. Just he happens to be that important, or by proxy, because of that. But also just the presidential parent thing was something Taylor just did in Suicide Squad
with Airy.
Yeah,
and it also gets me too that with Jay, I was hoping that they were just gonna have that Lois Lane sense of, I'm from Gamora, it's messed up, I want to change things. The fact that it's more personal, that it's his mom was the former president, it's a hat on a hat.
I don't mind the idea that he's got a parent who's trapped there that he wants to save. I think that's fine, but the fact that it's the president that's important,
that's the hat on the hat, where it's okay, him wanting to go back and save his mom, who got whisked away for being part of this freedom movement, right? Still works. But making her the president, and what's the island that Ares from? Or their mom was the president.
I don't remember the name.
Good luck remembering that.
I'm gonna find it. Also, by the way, President Lex...
is he finding this like he did with President Lex?
Well, President Lex, the first President Lex reference was from August 14th, 2000. So you guys might think it's a little bit later because the first collected President Lex didn't come out till 2003. So...
Okay.
But it started in 2000.
How long did it last?
The collection only has 7 issues in it. Huh. So I think it went up until Batman Superman started, when Waller is his chief of staff. And
I really thought it was later than that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna look this up. You guys talk about Superman, Son of Kal-El, real quick.
Yeah. So we see they're on the teens that are stolen are on a shipping crate and on a boat. Presumably going to not Beniza. That was the last bit we read. Gamora. So we cut to Lois and Batman, and Batman's like, "Look, we missed the thing going to the Kent farm, but it was a small plane. It didn't have any weapons on it, but they turned a person into a weapon, which is how it sort of bypassed the safety features." So we're going to have to set you and the Kents up somewhere safe. And she's like, yeah, set the Kents up somewhere safe. But I'm Lois freaking Lane. I'm going to go figure out what's going on and all the rest of it. And then we have Superman, John, who is nervous about going back to talk to Jay, and basically says, I owe you dinner because, I invited you over and then the house blew up, so I'll go get some food.
And also, basically calming John down, and he's like, I don't know what would have happened, and Chase is like, probably a whole lot more destruction. You are superpowered. I do love their dynamic.
Yeah, so they have some pizza on top of the Daily Planet globe, and get some back
from
and
New
forth.
York. He made a big deal that he flew all the way to New York to get that pizza.
Is that far, really?
I don't know. Where is Metropolis?
Don't start that. I don't care. I don't. This is one of these nerd debates. I don't care.
I'm assuming when I say is it that far, really, in the context of the first question he asks is, "Oh, did you go to Italy for this?" So in context, New York isn't that far by comparison.
Right, but he still didn't. It's not like he went to his favorite pizza place in Metropolis.
Yeah.
Right. He went extra to go to New York, however far it is away.
Right. Well, anyway, this is where he gives the backstory about his mother, and him being tested on until he got his invisible, or not invisible, but his incorporealness. Incorporealness. Thank you.
He can phase.
He can phase through things. Right. So they come up with this plan. They go to steal some records to try and figure things out and maybe connect like who's responsible for everything. So it's actually Jay who's going to sneak in with his powers, and John feels uneasy about it because he's the one who puts his life on the line. He doesn't like other people doing it. And the irony here, probably the best thing I think about this issue, is the ultimate joke here is that he runs into Damien, and then they both run into Lois because they're all there to help John and figure out what's going on. So they end up obviously working together, and they get back outside, and there's interactions and whatnot.
I laughed at the line from Damien. He goes, "Yeah, I'm a friend of John. He doesn't have any others.
It's just me." Yeah. And it's all of this stuff is fairly delightful. I will say Damien's line where he says, "I'm really happy for you, man," and sort of like hits him in the arm. I like everything else around this. I like Lois pointing out that it's unnerving that Damien's smiling. She's not used to it coming from him. I will say that at a specific moment, though, it felt like it was a little too straight for Damien in the way he says it. I almost expect a bit more attitude in how he says it. Like, I think he would give the sentiment, don't get me wrong, but I think he'd do it in his own Damien way.
I always feel like he is the guy that threatens the significant other of the best friend. Like,
yeah,
you don't hurt them, or I'm going to hurt you. And
he pulls the parental role.
Yes.
Yeah, and then John's gonna be like, all right, don't ignore him. He's dumb.
And we let John be like, hey, I'm older than you now, remember?
Yeah.
And Dan's like, so? Yeah.
So I don't care. Like, this is like Superman saying to Batman, I've got powers, and Batman's always like, I don't care, I don't need them. This is the equivalent. This is Damien saying, I don't care if you're older. I'm Damien.
Yeah.
Did you fight in a Mortal Kombat-esque tournament to prevent your grandmother from, resurrecting a demon? No, shut up.
Yeah, so that's all delightful. So they find out what ship people have been taken on, and they've recognized a couple of like high officials and notably the superpowered guy that's doing all this. They don't recognize, like, oh, there's some mysterious other person, so he's a bit of a mystery to them. But John goes to the ship, rips open the door to the kidnapped teens and stuff. Unfortunately, this superpowered guy, he's not actually strong enough to put John down, but John does feel it. Like, he gets kind of weak, and he realizes that he's not going to win this, so he just quickly grabs the diplomat and the creative kidnapped kids and just flies off. He knows he can't fight this. This power's too strong.
Yeah.
Now, clearly this is better than what most people do, because the guy points out when he's explaining this to Bendix later, he's like, nah, John was too powerful, he got away. Like, clearly everyone else he does this to just, like, passes out, and that's it. That's the end of it. But, so we get this scene where he's saving them, and it's nice enough. The big sort of reveal here with this is when he takes this guy back to Jay, who's got a mask on, he's not revealing who he is. It turns out that his mother's still alive, she's still there to be saved.
Because of course she is.
Yeah, so and then we just see that they've got a lot of people they've been doping with superpowers. They've got a bunch of test tubes with various characters in them, and they're calling this the Rising. So Bendix has got an army of superpowered beings that he's going to unleash soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all know we all love Tom Taylor. Right?
Yes.
Patron saint of the show.
Lord and Savior.
So I looked up the Aerie, right? Aerie's from Polynesia, which we just saw in Batman.
I'm Batman.
Right?
Yeah.
We should have
and
remembered, really, shouldn't we?
They were part of the Post-Human Project, which was illegally turning people into metahumans.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds an awful lot like someone from Gamora getting tested on to be a part of the Rising.
It feels like there's a lot of plot beats kind of being recycled into this book, doesn't it?
Maybe we'll find out like the diplomat or something was the one who like defected, like he escaped towards the end of Banisia stuff, and he went to Bendix and said, "Hey, I've got some ideas for you." So maybe there will be a tangential link like that, where the inspiration came from the same place or something.
Maybe, but right now it feels like, hey, the superpowered experiments, the army that they're creating, the presidential parent. It feels like there's some recycled beats going on.
They always said that the 11 issues we got a Suicide Squad was all that was ever planned. But I suppose you could argue that maybe this is a sense that maybe there was more story to tell with all this, and this is him just doing the rest of it now.
Yeah, I mean, there are similar threads, and that's why I thought maybe it's part of that same plot line, because once Wink and Aerie showed up, it was, you're like, oh, young kid with power, of course they're, but it's a little bit too on the nose if they're not.
I think this is fairly possible. I poo-pooed the first idea you had, whatever that was, I've forgotten it now. But this one seems reasonable enough.
Yeah.
I still don't think it is related, but it could, it's more possible than the other one, I think. But I still, my instinct was that no, they're not.
This is the little bit that David will clip out, and whenever he's proven wrong later, it'll flash back to this in black and white.
Fun.
I mean, I don't care.
I hedged my bets pretty safely there. There was a lot of I think and possible and maybes.
There's still a lot of good stuff here, so it's like I'm not gonna throw it all out. But this was the first issue where I felt like there's a lot of repeating plot lines going on here, and just the being the kid of a nation's leader that got deposed. It's just
the reveal, the backstory and reveal of who Jay's mother is was definitely kind of the first big plot problem I've had with this story, and it's not. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal in the long run necessarily, because like I said, the core thing of this issue, which is that all of people who care about John are all trying to help him, even though John doesn't think he wants help. Doesn't want to put people out. Is a nice sweet idea that tells you how much John means to the people around him. That's all good stuff. But certainly from the plot of what the current story is doing right now, it does feel like it is going into some tropes that I could have done without. And I never really thought about it repeating things necessarily, but you're right, it is kind of treading similar ground in a lot of ways.
Like, I think the superpowered experience is generic enough that a lot of people do that, where I wouldn't have called it out for being repetitive if it wasn't Taylor that did the other story as well. That's the only reason it feels more repetitive than just generic. Whereas I think the presidential thing, it's much more specific.
But like if he ties them together, and that's how Bendix is trying to, he's taken the kids of these small nations presidents and using them for leverage, like.
Well, that's why I'm saying there could be a link in that, like. Not so much that I think Bendix is going to turn out to be behind what was going on in Banisia, although it could turn out. I mean, it could pull that if it wants to. It's more just like I could see there being like a link of like more and more places that are corrupt are trying to do this, because it makes sense in a world filled with metahumans that they're going to try and build their own metahuman armies. So maybe like it will be brought up that it is simply. I don't think he's unaware of this. I don't think this is an accident by any means.
It feels like a lot of effort to kidnap Americans and experiment on them rather than just using kids in your own country.
Right, but these are.
I've used them all already. they're all
these are also people that no one's gonna mess. So Taylor's making that point that if you're gonna steal, you're gonna steal from us, because we have an issue societally, But yeah, I was gonna say something else about this, and then it spaced out. Shoot. Oh well.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember now. You guys remember in 52? It's been a while since you guys have read.
It's been a while, yeah. But...
A while, yeah.
There was the Everyman Project with Lex, where he was turning around and trying to reboot Infinity Inc.
Okay, yeah.
And give people superpowers. It's kind of reminding me what the Rising is. Kind of along those same lines.
Yeah. This feels more like enslavement, no, with like superpowers, specifically this one.
Because the Everyman Project was more like a reality show where you had to apply and then they would give you powers. Here it definitely feels like it's less, way less consent, like no consent.
To say, I don't think there's any consent forms being signed in this at all.
Yes.
So, but yeah.
So no. So there's a lot of good stuff in this issue. I think, the art I didn't even mention yet, particularly. Tim's is still Tim's. This is unlike the last couple of books we talked about. This is a consistent artist that has been here since the start of the arc. So yeah. There's not much to really add, except it still looks like it did. His Damien looks a bit tall, perhaps, but maybe that's just maybe that's a conscious effort now to start to make him feel a bit taller because he's getting into that teen years.
I do think we're kind of edging towards that, because I'm assuming this is a post tournament Robin that we're seeing here after, continuity wise, it's set after whatever we're doing in that book right now. And I think
he lives in the past for 2 years. Yeah. He lives in the past for 2 years. Kind of has the same kind of deal that John did. So now they're both time displaced.
That works.
Yeah.
Sure. He's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, you know what? He's gonna come back and he's gonna be 1 day older than John, just so he can rub it in his face. I'm older again.
He could find a way back, but he chooses not to.
I'll wait
because he wants to be older than John when he gets back.
I'll wait another year. Another year.
See, now that would be Damien level pettiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Damien. No, it's good stuff. So what are you rating Superman, Matt?
7.
Connor?
Yeah, same. I think it's good on its own rights. I'm just dragging it down because of previous Taylor stories more than anything.
Yeah. I think I'm more bothered just in general by the new boyfriend's mother is so important and tied to the story. Like that just feels a bit too. Comic books do this all the time where everyone has to turn it to be someone important, and not just comic books. Movies too. Who's Rey's
TV
parents
shows,
in Star
books,
Wars?
just stories.
Who's Rey's parents in Star Wars, for example?
Nobody's. The nobodies, Pete.
Big irrelevant one. I don't know.
The nobodies. That was the last movie. It said they were nobodies.
Palpatine's behind it all. So...
You and your crazy fan fiction.
That's what we said to JJ. The best thing to come out of that is Palpatine fucks.
Anyway, I was rating, wasn't it? Yes, 7 sounds about right. Yeah.
It's a very convincing 7.
Well, because it's not any lesser than that, really. It's still well enough done. It's still got good character beats. It still has pretty solid art. There's nothing like I can. It's just I hate that trope, and I wish I hadn't done it.
7's perfectly fine. That's why I give out so many of them.
That's why whenever Matt sees an attractive woman, he goes, "She's fine," and he just sort of looks and goes, 7.
You know how many times I asked my wife she wanted to go see the 355? She won't.
I don't know what that is, but I'll just move on.
It's the new Jessica Chastain movie where she's a spy. With other female spies. And it came out in January, which we know only the best movies come out in January.
But Matt wants to go anyway because he has an unhealthy obsession with Jessica Chastain.
It was coming out in
January. Did I? This is news to me.
Connor, do me a favor and go watch the trailers. If you're listening to music, you can clearly watch trailers while we talk.
No. I probably could, but
it looks bad in the best way. Yeah. So, also looking up this Bendix on this Wikia, he has deep ties to Midnighter, who also has ties to Superman through the backups. So I wonder how much editorial this has been, or if this is Taylor just pulling an obscure, political leader. Because they all seem to be, it's all layering.
It could be a relative coincidence in this case because because the Midnighter stuff with Superman right now specifically is an action and it's separate to this. But it could be a nice little coincidence that we got a Midnighter related character being part of John's story in his book at the same time. But all right, there you go. That's Superman Son of Kal-El issue 6. Sticking with Tom Taylor though. Dark Knights of Steel issue 3, Tom Taylor with Yasmine Putri on art. so Zara-El, or whatever her name is, the Supergirl.
Zala, I think.
Zala.
Zala Jor-El. That makes sense, actually. I don't know why I changed it to Zor-El. I guess it's because Kara's usually Zor-El.
You're right.
Yeah. Anyway, so she murdered the Jefferson kid.
Yep.
Last issue, in retaliation for the assassination of Jor-El. So this issue starts with a shooting star coming down, and young Jimmy Olsen here with his telescope is like, "Quick, fetch a Robin! Fetch a Robin! Batman must be informed."
Yep.
So I mean, this is just playing with the DC stuff at this point and having fun with it. But
it is, and it's a very green shooting star, as you can see already.
Right, which I'm like, oh, it's the Star Heart. I was wrong.
Yes, you were.
So Batman wants to go out and check it out, and Amanda Waller and Cora are like, nah, it's not a good idea. But Lara's like, no, okay, go out, but come right back. Also, I'm sure Matt nerded out at the mention that Harley should go and speak to the lady of the forest, or whatever they call her.
I addressed this on Twitter because Taylor's teasing a lady of the forest.
And then I replied saying, I want to, as soon as we're doing, fantasy anyway, let's go Folk King Arthur, have a lady of the lake, and it can be Mira.
Yeah. Right. But you're teasing Putri, lady of the forest, and we never get there this issue.
Well,
no, it's not going to be next issue either.
Hey, they could swerve us. They could swerve us, and it'll be a female Swamp Thing.
Not as cool, but I'm going to accept it.
If it wasn't being addressed specifically to Harley, that would be a reasonable argument.
Yeah.
I just want Matt to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt's already disappointed. He didn't get to this issue. So.
No. I got to the end, I was like, this issue was really good. There's just no lady of the forest.
The fact that he's going to have to wait till like March to see it is disappointing enough.
And then we get the Metal Men in this world, which are just a squad of people in different colors, really.
They're knights. Yeah. It's a little bit weird, but they're talking about Magnus's lands, which I thought was cool. Like, he's a ruler.
It threw me off at first because I didn't clock they were supposed to be the Metal Men on the immediately.
Yeah, no, because they said lead and I read it as lead.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what?
Lead, check it out. I was like, aren't you leading? But sure.
Yeah.
And then the next page it was like Metal Men. I was like, oh,
lead. Maybe should have picked Mercury or something that couldn't be confused as another word.
Yes.
Yeah. But Kara's there and brutally murders them.
Gold
or
did
Zara,
not
sorry.
Zala
did not stand a chance.
Yeah.
She just snaps that sword.
Yeah. She's just done a warpath.
Punches seemingly kind of right through him.
There's an interesting effect here in the art, actually, because she uses her heat vision to like blast a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there's kind of like an after trail of where she's moved the heat vision, and it's almost like a ribbon. And that's how it's presented in the art. I thought it was an interesting touch. But yeah, the page gets more red and red as she's like just stabbing,
just blood everywhere.
Yeah, or punching people. Like they're trying to hit her in the face with an axe, but I mean, it's doing nothing.
They shoot an arrow and it hits just the back of her head. It just snaps. Like, you just see it break.
Yeah, there's no interest there. And it's one of these things, because as the issue goes on and we get this the Diana stuff where she's offended at the idea that they're accusing Zala of being this murderer, and so she would never do that. It did make me wonder, is there going to be a swerve here where it's not really Zala that's doing it and it's like some imposter? Maybe,
but I definitely get that there's a tenuous relationship between the Kingdom of Storms and the Elves.
They've got
the House of El.
Some history.
I'm just because this book's already kind of swerved us before, because we were talking about the green one kind of thing. They kind of like went back and forth on that.
It's possible. I would assume at this point that it is just her acting out of rage.
Yeah, because we know that she's Clark's younger sister, and so I was just getting from Game of Thrones. I was getting Bolton vibes, like she's just unhinged because she's never had to pay a consequence for anything because she's royalty.
Maybe. I don't think she was unhinged. I think she's just grieving and lashing out.
No, there's that, but the way that she does things here, like she takes out all the metal men
Yeah. I mean, it's not just that she killed one person in Jefferson's family.
Yeah.
She then went and killed an entire squad of knights for someone else's ruling. And then she's and as we see in a bit later, she shows up and just annihilates Jefferson's ship and kills Jefferson.
Yeah.
Like,
that I would understand the grieving part, Connor, but like it's the Metalman scene that made me give again Ramsay Bolton or pre, Jamie Lannister before he gets redeemed.
Stop referencing Game of Thrones. I don't understand though. It's like gobbledygook.
It's not nice.
But Pete, hey, Game of Thrones all you want. He really did, these tropes very well. Like these are fantasy tropes.
It's a cultural touchstone that makes it very easy to convey this information to the audience.
It's a cultural touchstone that everyone hated by the end.
That doesn't.
I think they hated the ending. It doesn't mean they hated it all.
So people hated the end of The Sopranos too. Does that automatically make The Sopranos not a touchstone?
Not everyone hates the end of Sopranos. I've seen people be very vocally defendant of the end of The Sopranos.
I've seen quite the opposite, where they're like, "Oh, can't believe they did us that dirty."
Look, I saw a lot of sentiments after it ended that a lot of people didn't want to watch it from the start again because there was a point.
I'll throw Lost then. Tons of people didn't like the ending of Lost. Does that invalidate all of Lost?
I like the ending of Lost, though. I disagree with those people.
All right, I'm sorry, talking
if he's going to be intentionally
obtuse.
Awkward.
Yeah. So, but no, these are fantasy tropes that George R.R. Martin, used and subverted in a lot of cases. The whole point of Jaime Lannister, right, was he was the Golden Knight. He was the shining example, but he was a vicious, person.
Yeah, he was an absolute shithead.
Right. He's a, and here that's what I feel with Zala, right? It's like, yeah, to her family, right? She's great. To Diana, she's fine. But you let her out where there's those eyes that where they're not, and this is who she is,
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that much to go and kill the Prince of the Kingdom of Storms, or to take out Jefferson, because that's just who she is. She does the dirty stuff, so Cal doesn't have to, and that's another fantasy trope, right? Like they're prepping him to be ruler one day. She doesn't have that,
She has to do the dirty stuff.
Yeah, so which I like, because I also like that here Taylor's subverting the Supergirl, what we expect here. That granted, this is not.
Yeah, here's a question though, because killing the Metal Man is not doing the dirty stuff. Like I get why killing Jefferson and killing Jefferson's family members is doing the dirty stuff based on what happened.
Right.
The Metal Man is a bit more like it's almost like she's making a larger pusher point for something,
Well, they're responding to where the meteor landed, right?
Yeah, they're going for the shooting star. So I think it's more just her stopping them getting to that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because obviously we see later on when Batman gets there that it's kryptonite.
Right.
And it does hurt him because he is,
he's part Kryptonian.
Yep. So he does feel pain.
And with the way that it says, next the secret origin, and maybe there's even more to that story, than
very possibly
we're aware of.
Yeah.
The other big thing though before the attack on the ship is that Jefferson and Hippolyta have this debate about what should be done, and ultimately Diana storms off because she doesn't like that her girlfriend's been accused of whatever. But ultimately Hippolyta does say, "No, we'll stand by you because we've had this alliance for eons and generations, and we're not going to ruin it now. So if you go to war with the elves, we're on your side, basically." So,
and I like the conversation Constantine and him have, Jefferson, where they're like, I can't believe you would do this. You incensed her, and Jefferson's like, or did I remove the one person who has a tie to the House of El in their court, And so it just shows that he had political gamesmanship. Jefferson knows what he's doing here.
As he points out, he's a king. You got to know how to play the game,
right? And it's very much that. And I feel like they want us that Taylor and Putri want us to feel sympathy for the Kingdom of Storms. However, they're the ones that started, as far as we know, all of this by assassinating Jor-El. And so I want to know
and they're still,
what has happened
and they're still
that has led them.
prattling on about this prophecy that starts with a shooting star. You know, they're all freaking out about it and think this is going to happen. There's even a joke earlier on where, you know, I think it's Clark says, well, the planet we're from didn't have prophecies, and Harley's like, yeah, and that planet blew up, so maybe maybe you should have had some prophecies.
Maybe you should heed that prophecy. Yeah.
So, you know.
I do question, though, who is Zala working for? If assuming it is just her and she isn't, like, you know, possessed or anything.
Right.
We say, oh, you know, she's doing the dirty work. It doesn't seem to be for the House of El, though.
No, because it started work. She is deciding needs to be done on her own. I don't think she's been given orders by someone higher up.
I would agree with that, except for the Metalmen thing, where because the Metalmen, it was to stop them getting to the meteorite, right?
Right.
That was the clear objective of that. But the meteorite's gone, and she didn't take it.
No. Chaos is a ladder, right?
I mean, she could have flown it somewhere.
How?
Well, maybe not.
She couldn't, specifically her.
Okay.
Well, what about the Green Man? What if the Green Man's playing a third side here? And whoever the Green Man is could have undue influence on Zala.
I mean, they could definitely move the kryptonite with the ring. If she is getting orders from someone, if she's been taken over by someone or influenced by someone in a way that's either natural or unnatural, I would start to bring in like third parties we've not met yet in this story.
Right.
I would start to suggest, what other big thing can Tom Taylor take from the DCU? I'd be thinking something like, who would know that this is landing? Like a Brainiac who's in orbit would know,
right?
Or maybe not Starro, but like someone who could someone connect to her mentally.
Yeah, maybe like a Dr. Fate. Like, you know, can
Lords
hey,
of Chaos and Order.
Stars, I saw it come in,
right?
But also, you know, magic to control.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, there's definitely going to be more DC characters that have not been introduced yet that are going to be, you know, like prominent at some point. Like he's going to keep pulling in new characters because it's fun to do. That's the whole point of these stories.
We haven't seen a Flash yet, right? Like, so you got to think that he's going to have a fantasy version of the Flash somehow. I
would suspect,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Putri's art here is pretty great. Maybe some of the best it's been in the book so far. I particularly like the panel where Jefferson takes a step onto Themyscira and immediately the swords come up for his neck. And just that moment, I think, is really nicely detailed in his reaction and like, oh, apologies, forgive me. Yeah, no foot allowed. And just, you know, those other nice beats. I think pretty much everything with Supergirl looks great. So yeah, I mean, really nice stuff. Action's really nice. The colors, nice palette. It kind of pops when it needs to. You know, simple things like Jefferson's ship having the kind of the black lightning kind of design on all the flags. I mean, it's an obvious thing to do, but it does give it a bit of a vibe. You kind of recognize it, despite the fact that traditionally Black Lightning does not have a pirate ship. But
right,
yeah,
maybe he should.
Maybe he should. But I mean, that first panel where they just see her floating in the distance, and it's
so good.
Oh, you're screwed. Like, you're screwed because she's there. You can't do anything.
You can play with the look up in the sky.
Yeah.
Usually that's a thing of hope, not of doom.
Yeah. Getting a bit of that Brightburn energy going here with this scene.
Oh, for sure. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, Homelander's back in June, everyone, just in case everyone's excited about The Boys Season 3.
What's Cody doing?
I like it. But yes. So, no, that's Dark Knights of Steel issue 3. Matt, what are you giving it?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Connor?
Yeah, 8.5 from me as well.
I'll go 7.5. I think my inherent
so boring.
My inherent relationship with fantasy and the fantasy genre it just makes me like it a bit less.
With the Falling Star, right? They sent Bruce from the House of El, but Kara got there first.
That's why I say I think she's working for someone else, because someone else already took this, and why would it be someone from the House of El?
It seems like the kryptonite that was left behind is just a remnant of what was there.
It's just something that broke off. Yeah, it's a little piece that they missed.
So Pete did bring up Brainiac. That's the only other Kryptonian thing.
Well, yeah, because I
could think of.
I wouldn't think it was just a lump of kryptonite. I would think the kryptonite was like stuck on something. It was
right.
You know,
piece of
a ship or something, you know.
Right. Which, yeah. So I was going back over again.
Maybe this would be actual super. Maybe this is actually Kara Zor-El who's landed, and we'll have both.
Right.
It could be interesting.
I don't know. Just throw it out there. All right, there you go. Justice League Incarnate issue 3. Joshua Williamson writing with like 4 or 5 artists. A lot of them
again
handled very well though, because these are broken up.
Yeah, because it's different universes. So there is kind of like a narrative reason for it to be changing. And this one gets pretty meta, as we'll get into it. Exceptionally meta, actually. So
this is really feeling like a sequel to Multiversity at this point.
Well, we'll go through an order because I feel like I'm just going to get confused if I try and jump around. So,
okay.
So it starts off with because obviously they all get split up into different different universes in the last issue. So Captain Carrot wakes up, and he's with a bunch of characters, and there's like a Swamp Thing called Spore. There's a Fletch. There's a Vague who's kind of their Wonder Woman. Notably,
Calamity.
Yeah, So Cal-Amity as their Superman. Did give me a chuckle. So that sets up where he is. It sets up that Calibac and Grail are, worried about, if Orion survived the fall. Even they're sick of the Batwoman who laughs, who's like sort of around. It sets up nicely as well that Dino Cop comes from the Earth that Captain Carrot ended up in, because they kind of referenced
Earth
him.
41.
So that was a nice touch. I'm kind of rushing through this though, because I feel like the more interesting stuff is elsewhere. So you see where Avery is. She's on the pirate Earth 31.
Yep.
And it kind of sets up at the end of this where she's on the plank, and then the Amazons come in from their invisible blimp.
Love it.
And the Troy of Donna, or Donna of Troy, whatever they're calling her.
Donna of Troy.
She helps Avery get untied, and Avery's like, okay, I'm going to go deal with all these pirates. And then they reference that he's just like your Titans member, teammate, Wally Waterwalk. So this is Waterworld.
Her jokes aren't much better either.
Yeah. So, but basically, they get the treasure chest that the pirates had, and inside it is Justice League Incarnate issue 1.
And Infinite Frontier 6.
Yeah, I think there's a couple others in the background, but the main thing is Justice League Incarnate issue 1. And then it cuts to Earth 33, which is where Calvin and
Superman, Dr. Multiverse
are. And they're in a comic book shop, and he picks up a handful of comics, and you see New Superman issue whatever, and you see the Flashpoint tie-in for the Batman, this Flashpoint Batman stuff. What I like about the detail here is that and I remember this from this comic, the banner at the top advertising the Green Lantern movie is on the cover. Yeah. They kept it in. So they're in a universe, and they're not claiming it's our universe. They're saying it's a universe that is surrounded by, was it fictive membrane?
Yeah. This is, so I looked this up. This is meant to be that Earth. This is where Superboy Prime comes from.
Sure.
Now.
That makes sense.
So during the Dark Multiverse stuff, this is that Earth that he went to.
So this sets up that they're in a world where stories from the others come through, but only as fiction, but also that stuff here can influence the others by being written as fiction. And they decide that the way they're going to deal with everything is to write a comic book to influence and sort of basically send out a message to the others as to where they are. So it says day 1 at the start, and then it cuts to day 7, and apparently time moves differently, so they can be here for a long time, and it doesn't really affect anything. That's fine, right? There is a reference to Superman 3 in this story, where Dr. Midnight says to Calvin, where are we getting this money for this apartment anyway? And they've got like a Brainiac thing working for them. And he says, oh, he got the idea from a Superman movie made here, something about rounding errors. And I popped for this.
I could hear you as I read this. And now we know that the events of Superman 3 are canon within the DC universe.
Yes, they happened. So they actually try living together as a couple for a bit, but it's not going very well. They fight. But what really sort of set off my alarm bells, though, is that Calvin runs into the editor of DC Comics.
An editor.
An editor. Well, it's like I said, editor-in-chief. Like, they say, whatever.
Is that what they say? I thought he said he's an editor at DC Comics. Yeah.
Okay, he's an editor.
Saxman.
Now this is genius, like character design. When it reveals later this is actually Darkseid in disguise, and you look at him and you look at the way he's got this like beard and the way he's receding the hairline. It's like, wait, his facial hair and hair make the shape of Darkseid's helmet. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, not just that too. His name Ulrich Saxman is Darkseid's, new Earth or new God's name before he was Darkseid. He was Uxas, Uxas. And so just when I saw that name, I was like, huh, that's not an actual editor.
Yeah.
I looked, right?
Of course you did.
and I was like, oh, that's Darkseid.
No. So, like, this is the thing. And you see Flashpoint Batman, who's in the cartoon, like, the animal universe. And
he effing hates magic. Yeah. And I can just think of Pete. That's all I can think of.
So, but eventually they come up with this story and they go to the editor and he's like, I think for this story Darkseid has to win. And they're like, what? No way. What are you talking about? He's like, no, this sells issues, but he has to win first. And Avery shows up during all this, and when Avery reveals where things are, where the crack in the multiverse is specifically, that's what everyone's looking for, because that's back where Captain Carrot is. The editor stands up and starts to transform and says, finally I know, and turns into Darkseid, and they all kind of reach for Avery at the same time, and they end up on the planet or in the multiverse where this big fight's happening with where Captain Carrot is on Earth, whatever number.
41.
41, there you go. I'm going to remember that.
Original Image Comics.
Yeah. So basically, the big monster here is trying to get the crack in time. He actually has it in his hand. One of his many hands. He's got like 6 hands. And in through a portal come like all these characters. You get Darkseid properly in full Darkseid mode, or other characters here. Avery's got Flashpoint Batman with them. And they're all coming in, and they're going for this crack. And again, there was a line here that made me laugh about we need to get that crack off this Earth.
Are we still talking about Darkseid's crack?
Yes.
Yes, Darkseid wants his crack. This is very important. So Darkseid ends up fighting this big monster, and they're going back and forth, and all the rest of it. But basically, Doctor Multiverse basically comes to the point where she says Darkseid has to win. And they're like, wait, what? We talking about? What are you talking about? And it sort of basically implies that there's going to be something much worse if Darkseid doesn't win. And there's some teases here towards the end of like, what member is it? It's the Thunderer dude who his planet that he came from doesn't exist anymore, right? Like it's all gone. So he made a new home in the House of Heroes, and I'm gonna kill that cat. All right.
Okay. I thought something happened on my end, and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna talk."
I wasn't paying any attention. Everything went quiet. I looked back, and Pete was like looking around. I was like, "What happened? What did I miss?"
I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill the cat. But yes. So basically, at the end here, we're kind of blindsided because it introduces this big villain that's coming from that Earth. Basically, this entire planet has become the thing, right? This is going to be the destruction of the multiverse or whatever.
The Oblivion Machine.
Yeah. I was enjoying this issue quite a bit for all its meta shenanigans and stuff. This whole big threat at the end they introduced, I felt it came out of nowhere to me, and I was just like, "What is this? What's going on? What is any of this?"
So the Thunderer brings up that his Earth was sacrificed. That's why he went to the House of Heroes. So what Darkseid needs, that Oblivion engine, is the entirety of Earth 7. It's that universe. So I'm sure that's why the House of Heroes was there. That's why Darkseid's forces had converged there. So the Great Darkness is still coming, and it's I would feel like its gateway is Earth 7, and that's what that is. That's why I didn't feel it came out of nowhere.
It felt relatively out of nowhere to me because it was just kind of all this big stuff at the end, and I'm like, I don't feel like I've got enough context for who this big guy is and anything. I was just like, oh, you've kind of like thrown me for a loop here at the end when I was otherwise enjoying the issue up till this point.
It's very Lovecraftian kind of with the creatures and him coming up through the ground and whatnot. But yeah. I enjoyed this issue for everything that it was. Like, again, it felt like a sequel to Multiversity, just with. Whereas you can tell Morrison definitely has ideas about string theory at play in Multiversity. Williamson's just like, no, aren't comics great? You know? So it's playing on a different level of Multiversity, but it's playing within those dynamics that I like a whole lot. And again, this is much more my speed, more so than as much as I loved Multiversity. The whole meta comic here was much more palatable in this sense, as they're trying to write a comic to get through their friends than the comic being self-aware and whatnot. Like, it's a whole different bag of tricks.
Yeah, the main story with Calvin and Dr. Multiverse, I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed some of the other snippets here or there. But I could have done with a few less of them. Like, I don't know if I needed to have, like, say, the stuff with the ones who were, like, maybe like with Kalbak and Grail and the others who were on that planet.
Yeah.
Aquaman and stuff. Like, I could have almost done without that plot this issue and just sort of let the rest of it kind of breathe a little bit.
Maybe.
So a bit overstuffed is maybe my.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree there. Although I do love Dr. Batman stuck on the Captain Carrot world, just because it's so counter. He's like the darkest version of Batman that we have. That's a good guy still, and he's stuck on the cartoon planet. I just thought that was hilarious, and his introduction of "I effing hate magic" as he punches out feline Faust. That was a whole lot of fun, and I do like the art changes here. I do feel like although Williamson's kind of always done that when he's had artists, multiple artists, even on his Flash run, he's been able to manage the tone throughout very well. So, but I think I definitely like this more than Pete.
Yeah, you definitely did. I enjoyed large parts of it. I kind of appreciated the ballsiness of some of it. But it definitely feels a bit messy overall. Like, so, I'm still happy to read it, and I'm still, we'll check out the next issue, but I'm definitely not as enthusiastic overall, I'd say. But hey. And the art's a weird thing to judge, because it's like there's so many artists and there's a reason for the changes, but it still ultimately feels really all over the place and adds to the overstuffedness of the whole thing. So it's hard to judge that on that its own merits. But anyway, what are you giving it, Matt?
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to just slide to about 7 for me on this one. So some faults, but I did enjoy enough of it that I'm still happy to be reading it. So there you go. That's Justice League Incarnate issue 3. Arkham City, Order of the World issue 4. Dan Waters writing with Dani on art. So basically, Dr. Joy thinks she's going crazy because the ghost, if you will, at the end of the last issue, she sees too. She believes it may actually be Amadeus Arkham. She's like, God damn it. Does that mean I'm crazy? Is basically her worry.
The answer is maybe.
The answer is maybe, but by the end of the issue, we find out that the ghost isn't real. Someone's pretending to be the ghost. So
but why?
We have a whole conspiracy of sorts. So Ten-Eyed Man loses a hand. So he's only the 5-eyed man now.
I mean, the hand's still there. It's just burnt, right?
I mean, are those eyes going to heal? Is he going to be able to see to them again?
I suspect not, but he hasn't lost a hand. He's lost the eyes.
Well, he gets sliced down the middle of the hand.
Yeah.
It's pretty gnarly. Azrael's not pulling punches. But he gives Dr. Joy the skull, which will contain all the madness of Gotham in it, apparently. And she runs off with it. And she's very conflicted. There's a lot more stuff in this issue with Dr. Phosphorus, the neighbors that are getting sick because he's there. And Nocturna is sort of living with them. They're kind of like a weird... It's always like a weird, horrific like sitcom about a couple who are living next to some neighbors.
Yeah, and Phosphorus thinks he's cured because when he was in Arkham, they had like medication that they could give him so he didn't poison everyone. Obviously, he's been off that, so he's back to being toxic radiation. But because he's mentally ill, doesn't quite realize that. So when it's pointed out to him that the couple next door are like basically dead because of him. He's like, no, that's not right. I'm cured. Can't be me. Coincidence.
Yeah, and they try to be nice and like talk to the neighbors, and the neighbors are like, call an ambulance, we're dying. Also, we can't find her dog because the Nocturna, who believes she's a vampire,
and
has
may
killed
be
the
a
dog.
vampire.
Sorry?
And she may be a vampire. There's possibility. Again, it's
she may be.
Is she or not?
But we don't know.
But I laughed so hard at that because the woman's on the floor like dying. She's like, I think she ate our dog, and she goes, well, people eat animals, don't they? That's normal. Normal enough.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then we got the detective at the hospital as well, who's dealing with his ex, and his kid is there, and the kid actually sees, because they've got a lot of these patients from Arkham they've sort of rounded up and they're at the hospital right now, so the kid gets kind of freaked out when he sees one of them. We go back to the apartment stuff, and this is where Dr. Joy like sort of finds them because like we found out in previous issues, Arkham kind of mirrors the layout of Arkham. Gotham mirrors the layout of Arkham. So she was able to sort of pinpoint where they'd be and comes to speak to them. And they have this just casual chat and talks to them about what's going on, and sort of goes into some of their backstories a little bit with them. And when she pulls out the skull, which Nocturna licks, I might add, basically they go, don't listen to Ten-Eyed Man. He's just a bit crazy. Like this skull's at most 10 years old. It's not the original mad person from Gotham.
And she's like, but he knew what was going on. He's got a whole map. He had a ritual. And they're like, oh yeah, he sees things. Of course he does. That's what the eyes are for. But yeah, all his rituals. Yeah, everything else is just bullshit. He's a nut job, essentially.
Yeah. And then, of course, he's at the hospital, so the detective, in his scrubs, goes to talk to him and sees if he can find out anything. And Ten-Eyed Man just casually reveals that he was staying at Dr. Joy's apartment and that she was protecting him. So that shit's hitting the fan next issue.
The detective's like, oh, was she now?
So they find the couple next door. Dr. Joy's like phoning for an ambulance because they're basically dead. The line there, like they mention at one point that the last tooth's fallen out and the hair's all gone, and like this is very quick radiation poison as well, so they're getting a continued heavy dose. If anything, I'm surprised that Dr. Joy at the end of the comic didn't start like pulling out hair or something just to show that she's been affected by it. But the end of the issue is that this apparition that is Amadeus Arkham starts speaking with a different like type of speech bubble. It turns blue with white text, and this like the ghostly kind of like surroundings like disappears. And whoever this is, this person whose face is still kind of obscured, this woman, she's working for none other than Professor Pig. And it looks like she has a giant hole in her head in that last panel where we see Pig through.
Yes,
I remember a Batman villain with a hole like that.
Does that sound
from
familiar?
Tamaki's run.
Okay.
I don't remember her name though, or their name.
Professor Pig was heavily featured back then because that was right around the time of
right
the Morrison stuff. So that tracks. So basically, they're rounding up these Arkham inmates for Professor Pig to make his art with, which I think it's a fun. Professor Pig's a cool villain to reveal, and I think putting Pig in a book that's inherently creepy to make him scary again is kind of a nice touch for me.
Pig's off on one here. He's not speaking in English. He's just squealing.
Yes.
And hole in the head woman is just answering as if she understands exactly what he's saying.
Yeah. So is she manipulating him and controlling him? But speaking as if she's doing this at his behest. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe you kind of get from it. But they could go multiple ways with it because ultimately these are all crazy people, so they can kind of like do what they want in terms of like swerves and surprises.
They're all very unpredictable, aren't they?
Yeah, but it was a nice ending. Like I always dig when a twist turns out to be Professor Pig. I'm always down for a Pig reveal.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. It's always fun.
Yeah.
So the person with the hole in the head was known as the Absence. But this doesn't seem like that character.
Yeah, this is like a woman with a short haircut who's kind of like proper.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's someone that has ties to Gotham for sure.
This is a significantly bigger hole than that because that's just like a hole through the forehead. This is the entire face.
This is the entire face is gone.
Man, was not ready for that ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, this is like so you could put your hand through her face, so you could like.
Yeah, you put your face through her face.
But yeah, no, but I mean, it's just still a creepy book, and it's yeah, I think the developments are kind of fun, and like it's playing with just a bunch of characters that otherwise don't get talked about much. So
And the fact that this is all mainline continuity is wild.
mm-hmm. Yeah, which probably means that the ending's not going to affect too much, other than maybe something that someone wants the outcome to be.
Sure, but more just that this is the sort of weird thing that I would normally expect to see in like some random out of continuity mini.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just straight up. No, this is in continuity. All this stuff is happening in Gotham around the same time as, you know, whatever's going on in Detective, I assume, give or take.
Yeah. So, which might explain why Batman's not showing up and dealing with anything, and why the others are all busy and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So, that makes some sense. So, all right, what are you giving it, Connor?
Oh, you're with me.
Well, Matt didn't read it, did he?
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Okay, fair enough. Matt was talking at the end there, like he had.
Well, I was thumbing through it because I still have it. I didn't have time to read it.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he had by the end there. It's like an 8.5. I think the story's good. It's elevated by the art that just gives it, you know, just a unique tone. Still, even you know, 4 issues in, I'm still enthralled by that.
A lot of creepy vibes from the art for sure. I'll go with a straight 8, I think, for me. But it's been an interesting read every single time. It's never been at the top of the priority list, but I've always been happy to get like a different type of comic at the end of my batch. So
yeah,
it's cool. All right, there you go. So that's the last new comic for the week. I have a Patreon book though. Every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can go to one of the higher tiers and make myself a Connor read a book. So I'm doing Animal Man issue 15, and this is an issue speaking out against awful people who kill dolphins. So obviously it fits into the themes of Animal Man in general. Dolphin herself, the character, does a cameo in this, which is cool. So they're at an island, which I think may be fictional. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But I got the impression this was like up and around Scandinavia, sort of locales.
Is it Svalbard Island?
No.
Okay.
So we actually there's like an interlude that starts and pops up a few times in the issue and then ends with where we actually get the narration of a dolphin that is like looking for its family that it's become separated from.
Oh no, that's sad.
So it's very, very like Grant Morrison in that sense. But the story revolves around this American guy who comes to a place like this because he wants to stop what the locals do every year, which is when the dolphins are migrating this time of year, they go out and like try and like redirect a lot of them to the shore of this island so they can go out and stab them. And it's like a yearly ritual where they have the kids playing with baby dolphins that they've killed, and it's this big traditional thing they do. And this guy wants to stop, and he's basically put a request out for Animal Man to come and help. So we get an introduction to him, and he gets into a bit of a bar fight with the locals who don't like it. Animal Man comes in and does like a Hulk clap. Although we find out afterwards, because the guy says the next day, he's like, "Hey, what was that clap thing you did? Like, what animal was that from?" And he's like, "It's from Pistol Shrimp."
Pistol Shrimp.
They can make sonic blasts by banging their claws together, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard, but cool.
No, that's true. They have, because of their biology and the pressures they're under, their force that they produce with their pinchers create small sonic booms. So
that's pretty neat.
It's pretty cool.
I mean, short answer is nature be wild.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it took humans a long time to create a sonic boom. Do you guys know what the first thing that we invented was?
I want to say a whip.
Yeah. Which isn't like, it's. I mean, by today's standards, it's relatively old, obviously, but
right.
Still, it's not like that old. Whereas,
it's breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah, you got animals just knocking around, going, "Hey, screw you! Look at this!" Bang.
Well, and it's also not just it's because they are underwater at such pressure that it does that as well. But yeah, don't I still wouldn't want to get pinched by one,
Yeah, but But then again, though, like a proper sonic boom, like you think of like a jet or something that properly like
shaking windows.
Yeah, like
sure, that's just a bigger sonic boom. Just
I know, but as much as you can say, oh, technically the sound of the whip makes is a little sonic boom. Like, oh, that's cool, but like, it's not wowing me. I'm not wowed by that sonic boom.
Get a big enough whip and you might be.
But true.
It's all about scale.
So, yeah, so they're here to stop this, and they're on a boat. They explains what these locals do every year. And it ties into as well to whaling and how whales eat plankton, and plankton produces a lot of oxygen. So if there's actually too much of it, it can imbalance the earth, and like, you know, so it's getting into some climate change stuff. It's talking about, well, what's interesting though is this is kind of the opposite of what I tend to associate with hearing when it comes to climate change. I tend to hear more that there's too much carbon dioxide, and this is kind of, there's too much oxygen being created by this particular problem. But it's kind of interesting just to hear, like, you know, some other avenues.
Well, just with displacement as well. Right?
Yeah, basically it heats up the planet too much. So it's interesting because even though oxygen is obviously what we need, that doesn't mean we want too much of it in the air.
But again, everything's about a balance, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so Dolphin shows up to help, and they're like, okay, yep, I'll man those Dolphin. They've crossed paths before, and they basically do their best to try and keep the Dolphins from like getting near the ships that they're going to lure them into the mainland. They're going to drive them to the mainland, and basically these locals freak out, and their plan to make the Dolphins still go towards the mainland is that they won't leave an injured dolphin behind. So they're like, no, hey, that female, stab it quickly. So they throw a spear, and you know, it's a pretty dark issue because you see the spear go through this dolphin, and one of the best moments of the whole issue is this dolphin's like going down in the water with blood flowing from it, and there's just this angry panel of like Buddy just being like, all right, it's on now, you sons of bitches. And sure enough, like, he goes up and like rocks the boat and all the rest of it, but a lot of these dolphins are still going towards the shore. The dolphin whose narration we've been hearing, like, while he's been swimming occasionally, like, sees the dead dolphin and goes, oh no, and like, he's like, oh no. Like, he got separated from the school of dolphin, and now he's like, his wife, for lack of a better term, is down. So yeah, we get this horrific scene where, like, yeah, they run into the water at the beach, and they start trying to stab dolphins. But the guy who's like here, the environmentalist, or the eco-terrorist as they call him, he's just at the top of the cliff with a machine gun, and he's like, nah, don't you dare. Like, this is not happening. But the main bad guy starts like going to stab a dolphin, and he does. He actually stabs it once, and Buddy just grabs him and flies him off, and the guy's freaking out because he's scared of heights. And Buddy's like, give me one good reason not to drop you. And he's like, please, I'm scared of heights. And then he drops him and he says, a good reason, I said. Not just a reason, a good reason. So lets him drop out of the water. And it's actually kind of dark because he doesn't actually know if he's going to survive. He says that he left him to the fishies when he talks to the others. And the final the issue is that this dolphin who we've seen like lose his mate comes up to him, stares him in the eye, and the narration basically is, is getting up to revenge. He's like, no, he's going to die for what he's done. Like, he'll never make it back alone. He will die here. And here in the world strained with our blood, he will die. But then the next page, the final page of the issue, like the guy washes ashore and he gets up and he sort of looks back, and the dolphin's narration basically says, no, that's their way. That's the human's way, because it's sort of like spelled with a hyphen. That's the human's way. Our way is different. So the end of the issue is that he's actually not killed him because he's better than this asshole who kills dolphins. So obviously the messaging in the issue is very clear. It's very on the nose. It's this characters directly dealing with the topic at hand. I know Grant Morrison's always been, vocal. I think Grant's vegetarian, if I remember right.
Yeah, definitely vegetarian, maybe vegan as well. I'm not sure about that, but definitely very heavily outspoken about things like animal testing.
Yeah, so all this kind of fits into the sort of vibes that you'd get in a Grant Morrison comic. Yeah, and the only complaint I really have about it is not the issue itself. I think the issue itself is really well done. It's got some funny moments. It's got some really dark moments. It feels like a very passionate piece of work because it's clearly something Morrison cares about. I will say that the cliffhanger to the last issue was so good that the fact that it's kind of just like not even brought up is kind of weird. the end of the last issue, of course, was like there's like a mysterious figure outside, and Buddy goes out to check it, and it's like a figure in the rain that kind of looks like him, and Buddy says something to the effect of, I recognize you from my childhood, and then it fades away. And I'm like, you're leaving me high here, Grant. Come on, Grant.
Restraint.
While I haven't read this, the payoff to that is gonna be really cool for you. So I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah,
Okay,
I have read this. It's been a while, but make me want to grab that Omni and flick back through it because it's so good.
Connor, it is what I think it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not actually sure what this is, so I'm looking forward to finding out.
Real quick, so I pulled up this issue on the Wikia, and Dane Dorrance, who was leader of the Sea Devils, he had a team pre-crisis with Animal Man. And I want DC, if they're listening, put this team back together for me, please. Because we got Animal Man, Cave Carson, Congo Bill, Dane Dorrance, Dolphin, Rick Flag, and Rip Hunter.
They're
called the Forgotten Heroes.
The first arc of this story is going to be them doing a heist at SeaWorld to free all the creatures.
Yeah.
That's the modern version of this.
So, yeah. Just give me that team, please. Bring the Forgotten Heroes back. I will remember them. They fought Vandal Savage. Come on.
It's a proper Matt team.
Give the people what they want, DC.
It's a proper
By the people,
Matt
I mean Matt.
Throw Poison Ivy in there if you have to. You don't have to. But I feel like these guys fit her vibe right now. Right?
She'll join in on the eco-terrorism and activism. Yeah.
Activism, not terrorism. There's a difference, Connor.
There's not when it's Ivy.
Yeah. Well, yes, there is. She's trying to save people. They just don't know it yet.
I don't know if she's trying to save people. They're just trying to save the Earth.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you save the Earth, is by saving people.
Ivy's whole thing.
I don't think that tracks.
Yeah, Ivy's whole thing is she cares more about plants than she does people. That's kind of been her thing for a long time.
I'm just trying to stop her from teaming up with Ra's al Ghul because they'll just take out half the population. Right?
Only half.
Yeah, because Ra's doesn't want to take all of them out. Right? He needs people to rule.
Yeah, I mean, to transfer this over to Marvel, I think Ivy would probably hear Thanos' plan and go, you know what, this is good. There's too many people. Half sounds about right.
I feel like that driving home every day when traffic stops because someone's pulled over and it goes, Thanos. Right idea, wrong execution.
What's the right execution to murdering half the population, Matt? I'm curious.
Well, we take out the people that are in my way. It's very selfish. Right? The people that were killing the dolphins in Animal Man.
Sure, okay.
Them. We'll start with people like that. You know.
And, who exactly is deciding this list of people?
Me.
God.
Matt's the rule of the world.
Me and you are screwed.
No, maybe half a Pete. The Pete.
Whoa.
You pick the half, Pete. Do you want to go horizontal or vertical?
It sounds like I either get to keep half my penis or none of my penis. So, that's a.
I think you can keep all of it if you choose to keep just your bottom half.
Oh, true. But like, what's just having a bottom half though? Like,
I'm not saying I advise it. I'm just saying.
Anyways, I'm glad Pete talked about this issue because now I know about this team. You know.
Yes. It's a solid 7.5 issue, I'd say. So I'm a little annoyed it took away from where the story was because I was interested in seeing more of that.
They'll get there.
But this was a fun standalone story. Had a nice message. Yeah, fun beats. So that didn't pull its punches either, which is also nice. So there you go. But that'll take us out the part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and top 5 books. So Matt, what was your panel / moment of the week?
It's going to be from Dark Knights of Metal, and it's when Zala shows up at the boat, and they just go look up in the sky, and it's so, yeah, bad news for that boat.
Sure. Connor?
From Arkham City, the people eat animals, don't they? That it just made me laugh so much.
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted. There's a couple of moments in Detective that I kind of want to take, but honestly, that entire lights out sequence at the end of Batman's hard to pass up.
You can't have that entire sequence. That's like 5 pages.
Well, okay, in that case, I'll give you just the start of it then when it first goes out and he's going through his vision modes. and you can't see anything.
That's fair.
But I mean, we could take a scene. Generally speaking, I mean, if it's one of those comics where the entire comic's one scene, then it's maybe a bit of a.
It's
stretch.
5 pages is not a panel of the week. We already stretch it to go, all right, you can have this page for this moment.
Yes.
But a 5-page scene is a bit much.
Okay, panel/moment covers a page. Come on.
It covers a page, doesn't cover 5.
All right. Cover of the week. I'll jump in quick. It's been my phone background since it was solicited, so the main cover of Detective is my cover. Easy peasy.
Oh, you got Taylor Swift on your phone.
It's not Taylor Swift. How dare you?
How do you know?
Not Taylor Swift. Even if the artist comes out and says he traced Taylor Swift, I'll be like,
It's not Taylor Swift.
Bite me.
Liar.
It could be a good singer like I don't know, someone else. Someone who's not Taylor Swift.
I'm not weighing in on this because someone's home and they can hear me. And I value my life very much.
Taylor Swift is generic trash. All right. Well, which cover?
I'm gonna go with the Dark Knights of Steel. The 1 in 25 Putri. It looks like a medieval poster. Character sheet with Diana on there.
Let's see.
Yeah. Although the Middleton Clark one or Cal, super cool
gorgeous,
too.
Isn't it?
But there's something about the sheet one. It's real cool.
All right. Cara, what you got?
I do like all the ones that have been mentioned so far. So I'm going to mention 2 that haven't been mentioned. Both covers for Arkham City are just fantastic. The main cover with just the hand is great. But I am going to pick the variant because it's a Jen Bartel variant, and we haven't had a Jen Bartel cover in a long time. And I was very excited to see it, and it's fantastic.
And that's of Arkham?
It's Phosphorus and Nocturna.
Oh, I did not see this, and I have to go look.
Yeah, and it's like pink and green for the 2 of them, like purple and green. And it's
that's nice.
Yeah.
All right. So best art of the week. Up next. Connor can go first.
Yeah, I think for me, there's only 2 really in contention. Batman obviously has some great art, but it's too mixed overall. Detective's very good, but I don't think it's like standout for me. I think the 2 standouts are Dark Knight of Steel and Arkham City. And I'm going to give it to Arkham City. I think Dani just killed it.
All right, Matt.
I'm going to go with Dark Knight of Steel. But I kind of like the chaos of Justice League Incarnate, but I really can't put it over Dark Knights of Steel.
Yeah. I think if all of Batman was the same as the lights out section, I'd probably
That's why it feels special.
Yeah. I'd probably be handing that an award on a silver platter, but I think as it is, I have to also go with Dark Knights of Steel. In terms of just the whole comic being consistent, but good, that's the one that takes it. So cool. All right, top 5 books of the week then, Matt. Go.
Number 1, Dark Knights of Steel. Number 2, Detective Comics. Number 3, Justice League Incarnate. Number 4, Superman, Son of Kal-El. And number 5, Batman.
All right, Connor.
Dark Knights of Steel, Arkham City, Detective, Batman, Superman.
All right. Number 1 for me is Detective. Number 2 is probably Batman. And then number 3 is Superman. No. Yeah. No. Number 3 is Arkham. Yeah. Number 4 is Superman, and number 5 is Dark Knights of Steel. There you go.
It's terrible placement of Dark Knights of Steel, but whatever.
Look, you know what? Too much fantasy talk, right? It dropped a point just hearing you 2 compare it to Game of Thrones, quite frankly.
Do you know what we're going to have next week, though?
What?
Game of Thrones, but better.
Too much Batman talk.
Well...
Do you want to, before you read out the issues, do you want a fun fact?
Sure.
That next week, not just the books we're reading, but everything DC is publishing next week is either directly featuring Batman or is Bat family related. Every single book.
Not a lot of books though next week that we'll be talking about. It's a very light week for us overall. So here's what's coming next week from DC Comics. Detective Comics 1048, The Joker issue 11, Robin and Batman issue 3, Batman Urban Legends issue 11, Batgirls issue 2, I Am Batman issue 5, Harley Quinn the Animated Series, The Eat Bang King Tour issue 5, Future State Gotham issue 9, Titans United issue 5, Justice League vs. Legion of Superheroes issue 1.
Ha!
Batman's in that.
Yeah, but he's not like it's. Not
I said featuring
book.
Batman. I said featuring Batman.
That one's a bit of a stretch. I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. Pennyworth issue 6 and the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 10.
I'm sorry. Batman is literally on the damn cover of that book.
Right, but he's not. It's not like Batman, the Justice League, and the Legion. It's just like he happens to be part of the Justice League.
Right. I didn't say it was.
Look at all of the other books,
I said
though.
Featuring Batman.
Go to League of Comic Geeks and look at the first 2 rows.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you have a point. And then you get on there, and Batman's not that prominent on that Legion cover. My guy Superman is
in the book. He counts.
Yeah.
Now, since I'm only reading 3 other books otherwise, I will probably be reading Urban Legends because it's all new stories that are starting in it. So
one of them is a Rambi White Witch story.
Yeah, there you go. So
let's see. We have Batman and Zatanna by Vita Ayala. We got Ace the Bat Hound by Mark Russell and Carl Mostert, and White Witch. I might have to read this too.
Yeah, well, it's a very late week otherwise, so I mean, it's an easy week to give it a try.
I'm just looking at that price, and that hurts. But I know it's a lot of content, but yeah.
I mean, you've only got 3 other books, but you've only got 2 other books, Matt.
Yeah.
What's Matt not reading?
He's not reading Robin and Batman, I don't think, is he?
No, I am.
Oh, okay.
I just wasn't here last time.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well,
I'm not picking up physically until it's collected because there's no point in room, but I am reading it.
All right, we got 3 other books then, plus that. Yeah. So, but as I said at the start of the episode, though, we'll do our results for the fan vote for best comics 2021. So make sure you vote. Links in the description.
Have we due solicits next week, or is it too early?
I would hope we do get solicits next week, but we might not. It may be the following week.
I feel like it's the week after.
Yeah, which is a shame, but hey ho. So make sure you put your votes in, everyone. Link in the description again, or on Twitter at DC Comics Podcast. But I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Boardnow, Christopher Moy, and David Brown. They are our producers at one of the higher tiers, but you can support us for as little as $1 per month, if I say that right. Yeah. You can also, of course, support us for free by simply hitting the like button, subscribing, dinging the bell for notifications and all that jazz on YouTube. It helps us out a lot, as does rating the podcast 5 stars with a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. All that does help. Share us out about all that kind of thing, but that about does it. That is the show. It was episode 287 in the can. Yes. Hopefully you enjoyed the tangents this week.
There'll probably be even more tangents next week, given that there's no books.
Well, life will find a way.
Sounds like you're threatening to make us read more books somehow.
Don't put that in the universe, Connor. Take that.
I can say no.
I'll just have some Brucey bonus segments lined up in my back pocket.
Stretch out like ComiXology top 10. Make it last.
Hey, that's all right. I watched a YouTube video on explaining cricket. I still don't get it, but we can talk about cricket.
We can talk about cricket, man.
No. I'm banning cricket talk.
I mean, it's like not even a top 5 sport for me, but we can talk about cricket.
I never want to hear people complain about baseball again, about it being confusing until you watch cricket.
Baseball is confusing to me, but that's only because I know cricket. I don't know baseball.
Right, but there's people I know that are like, oh, baseball, it's boring and doesn't make go watch cricket. There's not even bases. There's wickets. It's weird.
Yeah, there's wickets and there's runs and you've got batsmen.
Yeah. And there's overs and
Nah, I don't know cricket either. All those words just made no sense to me, so that's fine.
It does have a cool bat. Like I do want a cricket bat, but that's just to swing at people.
That's like Casey Jones had one. That's the reason why.
You know what a crumpet is? You know how to play cricket. That's what he says. Ralph's like, I was like, Conseco bat? Please tell me to pay full price.
Kind of want crumpets now.
Dang, I'm sorry. Every Sunday I get a ube white chocolate scone from the coffee shop we go to.
I'm gonna go pick up crumpets tomorrow.
How are crumpets different than scones?
Well, they're very different.
Not even remotely similar.
Crumpets are very different.
All right. Well, this is for offline real quick after we wrap up. Let's wrap up so we can talk about sweets real quick.
Scones are nice, crumpets are shit. That's the difference.
Whoa. a good like crumpet with the butter melted through all the holes. Maybe some jam on it. Oh,
is this an England-Scotland divide?
no, this is just Pete.
Okay.
Well, crumpets are definitely more popular in England than they are Scotland. Like I would say that.
I would say maybe that's fair, but it's not like Scottish people dislike crumpets.
No, I mean crumpets exist in Scotland. Like they're a thing,
and people like them.
But people
crumpet sounds like a pejorative for someone you don't like. So you gotta hear your crumpet.
People like scones more. All right, that's I'll just throw it out there. Scones are better.
All right, let's wrap this up.
I really like scones.
Oh well, there you go. See, cars are
but
made.
Crumpets are still fantastic.
This is. I'm starting to sound like Tim. Tim, we did Screams After Midnight the other night, and Tim went on a rant about how much he hates bagels. Right?
Oh, crumpets over bagels.
Right. And I like a bagel more than a crumpet, but
crumpets over bagels every day of the week.
But I agreed with him to a point. Like I like bagels as a form of sandwich. That's just fine. But I did agree with them that if you see one at a distance and you think it's a donut and then you find out it's a bagel, it is disappointing.
Oh, that is miserable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's upsetting.
Tim hating bagels is a peak Tim moment.
I think that reasoning as well makes it even more Tim.
He went on a huge rant because, he's not in the office much anymore because of the pandemic and stuff. But when he was, every so often someone would come with a box and say, "Hey, I got breakfast for everyone." And he'd get all excited and then it would open and it'd be nothing but bagels.
He'd want breakfast donuts.
So... yeah, I mean, donuts are better than bagels, obviously.
Obviously. Donuts are better than... I'll do donuts better than crumpets as well.
Oh, they're better than better than scones. I agree.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Crumpet looks like an English muffin. This is weird.
Kind of.
It's like a half an English muffin.
They like have like a firm bottom, like on the bottom, like it's like almost borderline burnt, essentially.
I'll be honest.
Really
I don't even really know what an English muffin is. It's not really something. I mean, what do we call it? Does it have a different name? Is it just a crumpet?
Oh.
It's not a muffin. A muffin's a muffin.
Depends where you are in the country, because where I am would call it a bread bun is often referred to here as an oven bottom muffin, as in like a bread roll.
All right, okay. I think I meant a crumpet. I think I meant an English muffin. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, but like a bread roll will sometimes be called an oven bottom muffin over here.
Never had that in my life.
It's what you call that is the most regional thing in this country. Like everyone has completely different names for it, and people will fight to the death on what they think it should be. Personally, it's a batch.
That's also stupid. It's a roll.
Apparently, Scotland didn't get the memo that we have divisive wars over this.
It's a roll. Maybe a bap or a bun if you really care to shake things up.
Bap is regional, depending. Yeah.
I remember James talking about a buttered bap, and I go, "I don't need to know about your nighttime activities, James." And he goes, "No, it's a sandwich." I was like, "No, it's call it a sandwich, but it's a buttered bap."
Yeah.
Oh, James. Sometimes you're too English to function.
Wait, but hold on, I have a question. Is James putting anything in it other than butter, or is it just a bun with butter?
I don't know, but
if it's
he
good
made
butter,
it sound like it was. He also told me that a grilled cheese is not a cheese toasty when they are the same thing.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. You
This is where
Ah.
you have to realize our grill is different to your grill. American grill is heat underneath, right?
It can be.
Right? It's closer to what we would do with frying. Whereas
That's
grill
a
is
griddle.
specifically... Right, but grill is specifically only heat from above.
Wait, you guys have heat from above like a salamander? That's so on cooking shows they call it a salamander because it's always hot, right? So you it's like the reverse of a freezer, right? If you want something cold, you put it in there.
No, this is
like something that's always hot, but it's not a microwave.
Think
Does
of
that make
the
sense?
wired heating element of a toaster.
Yeah. Yes.
Put that above
Right.
like above a tray, and that's what grilling is. So you'd put the cheese on the bread, put that underneath that heat, and it would melt onto it. That's what a grilled cheese is here.
I mean, it sounds.
That's
like
not a
either
toasty. Because you're not doing both sides of it.
Then what's the point? You gotta have crunchy on both sides.
I mean, this is the thing. You're debating this, but basically they're both going to taste the exact goddamn same because it's melted cheese on toast.
Right, and that's my point.
This is debating just like a technicality, is all this is.
So according to this, you can buy English muffins in England, but they're called toasting muffins.
Oh yeah. It's it's just like if you have a breakfast muffin from McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
Those.
All right.
Y'all should just call them McMuffins.
I mean, that's what they're called at McDonald's. Like,
yeah. I was just being generic.
Yeah, I've actually never had one because, you know, all those breakfast things all come with like egg and shit, and I hate egg, so.
Just have it with no egg.
Or I could just not eat at McDonald's in the morning like a civilized person.
I guess I almost just said get a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, but there's a big piece.
And we have biscuits. Over here. You could just have a sausage and bacon with no egg. Yeah,
I mean the sausage biscuit comes with no egg or cheese.
You could get again. We don't have the biscuits over here, Matt. But you could get a.
I'm not going out of my
bacon
way.
And cheese flatbread.
I'm not going out of my way before 11 a.m. or whatever time they stop serving breakfast.
Oh, they serve breakfast all day, my guy. At least they used to.
No.
That's never been a thing of it.
And that's not always been a thing in the US, at least parts of it, because there's a big plot point in Big Daddy where Adam Sandler says he's not had breakfast at McDonald's in years because he's not been awake early enough.
So, Sonny from Big Daddy and Pete are basically the same people.
No. Oh, actually, weird Adam Sandler tidbit from this week is that there was a study done about Gen Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Adam Sandler, based on the 10,000 people they surveyed, is the most popular celebrity of Generation Z.
That cannot possibly be true.
No, I believe it because they grew up with his stuff constantly on TV and Netflix. His Netflix deals. Think about
it. Cannot
Gen Z.
Possibly be true.
I don't know.
Also on studies, I don't know if anyone else ever reads, like at the end of the year, Pornhub does this great thing where they put all these stats based on countries and states.
I've seen past years. I didn't see this year's one.
It's hilarious. Like the most searched thing in each state is hilarious. Like some of your states are weird.
Yeah, welcome to the States.
There is some really specific shit.
Yeah, they do it every year. It's always amusing. I didn't see this year.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, all right, there you go. That's the end of the show.
There you go.
As we Comics From The Multiverse, believe it or not.
Trumpets.
Allegedly.
Yes. If this were any other show, I'd cut out that last 10 minutes and put it up as a bonus bit on Patreon. That's for some reason with this show, I just usually let it slide.
Lack of standards.
I think people like it though. They like our Johnson to the other realm. Right?
Yeah.
What they're here for. They're not here to hear us talk about Detective Comics. No one cares about that.
I think like 4 people do. The rest of them don't.
Yeah, the rest of they're here for the nonsense that we just spout. Mainly Matt spouts, and we just kind of join in.
Yes.
That's why I'm here.
Yes. But anyway, if you take anything from this episode, is that crumpets are shit. And
do not take that.
And that's about it. So thank you very much for joining us. Reminder again to go vote for your best comics from DC in the year of our Lord 2021. So
no, it's not.
Oh my god! I thought I fell through a time hole when you said go vote, and I just got back to the election. I was like, no, not yet.
I don't even know what the year of our Lord means. I just hear people say it and things.
Well, I mean,
it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah. It has to do with the calendar being changed, right?
It's just to do with basically we still fundamentally function on a Christian calendar.
Oh, all right. So it's just saying it's the year. It's 2021 because it's 2021 after he was born. That's what it's saying. Okay.
Yes.
I don't think that's exactly how it's dated. I don't think it goes off his birth, but essentially it's a Christian calendar. Which is
I've pointed at this plot hole before that January 1st would be his birthday if we actually started the calendar for the day he was born.
That was not a plot hole.
There's a plot hole.
There are I've seen on history stuff explanations of that about changing.
Oh yeah, no, Joe. I watched over Christmas, but I watched Kirk Cameron's or Kirk.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, anyway.
Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, Saving Christmas. Do you know what that movie is? That movie is some ridiculous, like, mental Christian trying to retcon everything that we do at Christmas into somehow fitting into the Bible. It is amazingly bad. Like, he tries to justify Christmas trees when they obviously come from pagan rituals. He tries to justify snow globes. He tries to justify like the Santa and capitalism because it's Saint Nick and all. I
mean, traditionally Santa as we know him does come from Saint Nick, but Santa as we are familiar with him is a Coca-Cola.
Yes.
No, he's not.
In department.
What?
Yes.
No, he's not. That's actually a lie. That's another myth. The Santa that we know and think of predates the Coca-Cola stuff.
Which does
actually Thomas Nast.
I'll send you some stuff.
Yeah.
No, I know, but the Thomas Nast version of him is based off of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" poem, and they went in, which then led the foundation to Coca-Cola. So yes, while you were correct, but the Santa as we know, and at least America thinks of, in that face, that is Coca-Cola Santa.
Still predates it, even like in illustrations, predates the Coca-Cola stuff.
Well, yeah, that makes sense though, because that makes sense though, because otherwise Coca-Cola as a company would be suing everyone every time anyone uses Santa Claus.
That shit,
yeah. So Cola, they don't own it, but yes, we do associate it primarily with Coke because I don't know, they thought, hey, that's our color scheme.
Because advertising.
Let's
Fun
go
fact:
for it.
polar bears don't drink Coke. Don't try to give them one. You're gonna get hurt.
There's just a visual in my mind now of Matt. Like, somehow he's ended up in the North Pole and he's just sauntering around.
He's got a bottle of Coke.
He's got a bottle of Coke to
Let
hand
me
out.
just tell you, there was a video going around of this bus up on tank treads that does tours out onto the Arctic, and a polar bear was underneath it. And all I could think of, my dumb ass would be able to help myself, and I would try to pet the polar bear, and that's the end.
This morning I saw on Twitter, it's like some outtakes from like some Mitsubishi advert where they're on like an ice rink.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it's like the guy in a polar bear kind of mascot outfit.
Yeah.
Just keeps falling over and it's amazing.
Yeah. So don't give polar bears Coca-Cola. They're not
yeah. Don't give them Dark Sage crack either. They'll play in badly.
That's where the show ended like half an hour ago.
It did. All right, let's go. I gotta go get dinner before Battle of the Belts.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me, everyone. And them too as well, obviously.
It's just joining you, yeah.
Look, I'm delirious. We recorded this way later than normal. I don't know what time is anymore. But that is us. Thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics. And remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.
Team Scones.